Chapter 614. Battle intent soared to the sky. Spiritual energy scattered everywhere. The two puppets, Scarlet Child and Angel, had never imagined that Sumo would be so powerful. The power of reincarnation could not be resisted. At this time, the reborn Crimson stood in front of Sumo, exuding an endless aura of death. He stood on a red cloud, insufferably arrogant. Boom, boom, the sound of explosions echoed in the sky above the sea of bitterness. The two puppets, Chi Zi and Tian Nu, were already riddled with injuries. However, they were still top-notch cultivator puppets. Although they suffered from the impact just now, they circled in the air and stood in the air again. They looked at each other, and their eyes were filled with fear. However, their bodies were rapidly recovering at a speed visible to the naked eye. They had a super recovery ability that cultivators of the same level did not have. This was where their strength came from. True and false, puppets and cultivators. Sumo's lips curved as she looked at the puppets. I said you were puppets, but you didn't believe me. Today, I will show you the true power of the Crimson Child. Although he's dead, his bones aren't something that your gods can replicate. Kill! Sumo ordered again. Whoosh! The reborn Crimson Child's eyes flashed with a bloody light. Immediately, two rays of red light appeared behind him. It was a pair of blood-red wings, hundreds of feet long, like the wings of a Kuan-pung. Almost everyone was dumbfounded by that scene. That was the true Crimson Child. At this time, the Crimson Child sneered and shook his body. Whoosh! A pair of wings also appeared behind him, but its red light was a bit faint, far from the aura of the reborn Crimson Child. However, they were cultivator puppets. Without their master's order, they would not retreat. Huanhua, I will hold him back. You killed Sumo. The Crimson Child puppet said. After killing you, I will be the only Crimson Child. Saying so, the Crimson Child puppet took the lead to charge at the reborn Crimson Child, its eyes also flashing with a bloody light. Whoosh, whoosh. The water of the sea of bitterness was stirred up into a 1,000-foot wave. The sea and sky were filled with red light. The reincarnated Scarlet Child also flew into the sky. The two Pure Child puppets were locked in battle. They were two blood-red Kuan-pungs. They flew up and down, stirring up endless amounts of seawater. However, the Crimson Puppet only fought with the Resurrection Puppet. He did not have the ability to destroy the puppet resurrection. Sumo raised her head and laughed coldly. At this moment, the Heavenly Lady puppet attacked again with her illusion flower divine sword. Her target was still Sumo. At this moment, she and Scarlet's puppet shared the same thoughts. He had to keep the revived Scarlet Child busy and kill Sumo first before thinking of anything else. Actually, this strategy was not wrong. In theory, the Heavenly Puppet definitely had the ability to kill Sumo. Unfortunately, they still underestimated Sumo's ability. Chi-Chi, the illusory flower divine sword glowed with a purple light, while the Heavenly Puppet had the body of a dragon. However, at this moment, Sumo had already decided not to hold back anymore. Although Nyohue hadn't shown himself, the two puppets at the middle stage of One Life Immortal Realm were most likely the ultimate weapons of Tianfu City. If he killed them, Tianfu City would be breached. Therefore, Sumo didn't hesitate. Of course, he couldn't fight the Heavenly Lady puppet head-on. He didn't have that ability, and it was unnecessary. With a flip of his hand, a jade pendant appeared in his hand. He crushed it. That jade pendant was Sumo's trump card. At this moment, Yu Wuji and Yi Kanxing couldn't help but sneer at the Heavenly Lady puppet. They knew that once Sumo used the jade pendant, the Heavenly Lady puppet would die without a doubt. Whoosh, whoosh. When he looked again, the jade pendant shattered and a figure instantly appeared in the void. It was a male cultivator. His clothes were whiter than snow, and his temperament was like a lotus. His eyes were as clear as water. A faint cyan halo emitted from the male cultivator's body. It was pure and immortal. There was a strange heavenly eye between his eyebrows. However, the heavenly eye was slightly closed, and it didn't open. It was a peerless man with a proud white lotus. No filth in the world seemed to be able to contaminate it. Its holy light illuminated the entire Pure Land. Ancient sacred lotus. The reincarnators of the three realms were shocked. Except for Yu Wuji and Yi Kansheng, they didn't expect Sumo to have a sacred lotus divine consciousness. Once the sacred lotus appeared, she would win without a doubt. At this moment, the heavenly lady puppet was forcibly frozen in the void. She almost maintained the posture of leaping forward with her sword. However, she couldn't move at all. "It's a waste to use me to kill you." Li Shui's divine consciousness smiled, but his smile was full of murderous intent. At the same time, an immortal sword appeared in his hand. It was the real illusion-flowered divine sword. Back then, AMU had given that sword to Li Shui. Nothing in the three realms can be blasphemed. Li Shui's expression was slightly embarrassed, even sorrowful. "I should let you see the real heavenly lady sword. There is always a sky above a sky, and a demon above a demon." Li Shui's gaze was blurred. His last words seemed to be a reminiscence of the three realms. At the same time, his figure moved, and he attacked. No one present, including Mu Qinsheng, could see the realm of Li Shui's divine consciousness. Li Shui's movements were not fast, but his immortal bearing was boundless, and his murderous intent was like the wind. The moment he attacked, all of time seemed to stop. Everyone could clearly see that the sword in his hand was glowing with an incomparably bright purple light. That purple light illuminated the entire Bitterwheel Sea and the entire Pure Land. At this moment, all the cultivators of the Pure Land saw the purple light in the distance. Compared to the sword light of the heavenly lady puppet, it was like comparing a firefly to the sun and moon. The purple light covered the sky, covering the entire Bitterwheel Sea. Zzz, boom. The purple light slashed down on the heavenly lady puppet's forehead. Boom, crack. An immortal level puppet like that only needed one move in front of Li Shui's divine consciousness. Also, she had no chance of recovering. The two halves of the corpse floated motionlessly in the air. At this moment, the heavenly lady puppet did not even feel any pain. She even saw herself cut in half, but her consciousness was still there. Li Shui's sword completely surpassed her understanding, and its speed surpassed her divine consciousness. Then, she gradually turned into green smoke. She saw her own demise. But Li Shui's sword did not stop, because he knew that his divine consciousness would immediately disappear. He needed to help Sumo do the greatest thing in the shortest amount of time. The purple light did not stop, and the sword light was still there. ZZT. One sword went straight for Tianfu City in the sky, and in this time, his sword energy cut off one of the Crimson Puppet's wings. Originally, the puppet was already struggling to fight the reborn Crimson Puppet alone. Now, Li Shui's sword cut off its wings. How could it resist? The reborn Crimson Puppet would not give a chance. It stepped forward and stretched out an arm. The arm was bony, and no flesh could be seen. This was because he was originally just a skeleton. Puff! The skeleton, which was comparable to a venerable level divine weapon, suddenly pierced the Crimson Puppet's heart. At the same time, its pair of blood wings suddenly swept toward the Crimson Puppet's body. Boom! The power of reincarnation directly shattered it. In an instant, the two puppets could be said to have been destroyed. This sudden change was absolutely unexpected for Xiaoyu. Although she had completed the hand seal, her face was ashen, because her hand seal seemed to be faster than Li Shui's sword. Xiaoyu's figure could be said to be in a panic, as she quickly retreated. The reason for that was because she saw that purple streak of light flying straight towards Tianfu. In Xiaoyu's mind, that was simply impossible, shaking a city with one sword. Moreover, Tianfu City was an existence far superior to the Pure Land. It was the ruler of the Pure Land. Boom! Crack! Xiaoyu's figure was already retreating. But Tianfu City suddenly shook. A purple light directly cut Tianfu City in half from the bottom up. At the same time, Xiaoyu's body was also cut in half. That scene left all the cultivators dumbfounded. Chapter 615. One sword to shake a city. This was something that no cultivator from the Pure Land could imagine, because that city was called Tianfu. It was known as under the firmament above all living beings. To the cultivators of the Pure Land, Tianfu City was a godly existence. If it wasn't for Sumo, a reincarnator of the three realms, they wouldn't have dared to challenge the power of Tianfu City. Tianfu City, that was the highest and most supreme city. For tens of thousands of years, they thought that a god lived there. However, on this day, in many corners of the Pure Land, almost all the cultivators saw the purple rainbow piercing through the sun. And that sun was Tianfu City. The sun was broken. Someone killed a god. At that moment, they couldn't describe their emotions. They didn't even know what to feel. The battles on the chaotic gods and the ancient Shu continent stopped. This was because all the puppets' movements slowed down slightly. Their murderous intent seemed to have dissipated a little. To the puppets of the Pure Land, Tianfu City was their root and source. Boom! Crack! At this moment, the entire Tianfu City in the sky was split into two halves. But it didn't break. Whoosh, whoosh! Inside Tianfu City, countless black dots scattered. These black dots were like locusts, but they were the puppets of Tianfu City. Their lowest realm was the Undying Realm. These puppets, numbered in the tens of thousands, densely packed together. At this moment, Xiaoyu's physical body was already scattered. However, she relied on a strange treasure on her body to protect the last bit of her soul. She didn't expect what happened in front of her. She had thought of the worst-case scenario, which was to give up the Pure Land and escape with Tianfu City. Tianfu City was impregnable and had a reincarnation-level defense. It couldn't be broken. But now, Tianfu City was cut in half by a sword. Who was that spiritual sense? Xiaoyu didn't recognize Li Water, but the presence it emitted was enough to make her feel fear. But at this moment, the spiritual sense of Li Water had started to fade. That moment just now was the last bit of the Divine Will's power. Sumo, in the future, if there are any difficulties you can't solve, please help me. You can look for me in the Li dynasty of the ancient Lotus Galaxy. After splitting open the Tianfu City, Li Shui's divine will was about to disappear. Many thanks, Sacred Lotus. Sumo gave a deep bow to the Li Water spiritual sense. In an instant, the light was used up and the Li Water spiritual sense disappeared. Once the aura of the Holy Lotus dissipated, the entire bitter wheel, seemed to have changed. Who? Tens of thousands of Tianfu puppets descended from the sky, their battle cries shaking the heavens. They had already gone crazy. Kill! Sumo waved her hands. All the cultivators of Jiuyo City soared into the sky. Other than Mu Qingcheng, all the other reincarnators of the three realms rushed towards the void. A yellow flag appeared in Miao Long Er's hand. With a wave of the flag, the northern Chill City charged toward Tianfu City. Now that the Tianfu City had been split in half, it couldn't withstand the impact of the northern Cold City. A chaotic battle had begun. However, the puppets of Tianfu City were at a disadvantage in an instant. Although there were many puppets, none of them were at the reincarnation level or even at the immortal level. The reincarnated Qi Zi didn't encounter any effective resistance. All the enemies turned into smoke in front of him. Xiaoyu's expression was uncertain. Why hasn't Miss arrived yet? The power of the entire Tianfu City couldn't hold on for much longer. Boom! In the distance, a huge ice city flew toward Tianfu, northern Chill City. Its protective formation wasn't any weaker than that of Tianfu City. However, the Tianfu formation had already been destroyed by Li Shui's sword. Therefore, when the two cities collided, Tianfu City would definitely be destroyed. Xiaoyu's divine soul was already holding a spirit talisman. That was her last life-saving talisman, because the current situation couldn't be reversed. Boom! Boom! At this time, the northern Chill City was only a few miles away from Tianfu City. The powerful shockwave caused the already tottering sky floating city to sway continuously. Many buildings in the city had already started to collapse. The five-color palace had already been split in half, and now it was completely collapsing. Before, Xiaoyu had already made a seal to send all the puppets out of the city. The current Tianfu City was already an empty city, but even so, the value of this Tianfu city couldn't be estimated. Therefore, Xiaoyu didn't want to abandon the city until the last moment. However, the powerful shockwave had already arrived like a thunderstorm. The entire Bitterwheel Sea was filled with black fog, and the cries of killing seemed to want to turn the entire Bitterwheel Sea upside down. It's over, Xiaoyu sighed, because the puppets of Tianfu City were almost all dead. The chaotic God Continent and the ancient Shu Continent were completely controlled. Eldest Miss, did something happen? Otherwise, they would have arrived a long time ago. The northern Chill City was about to run into Tianfu City. At this moment, all the reincarnators of the three realms saw the light. The city of Tianfu was broken, and they were free. However, at the last moment, the entire rift twisted violently before three super vortex formations appeared out of nowhere. The sky was filled with purple light and blue light. At that moment, the entire Pure Land seemed to be open to welcome the saints. The three formations were like three purplish-blue suns that hung high in the sky, emitting a blinding radiance. At the same time, a giant bird flew out of the purple sun in the middle. That bird was purple, and when it spread its wings, it was 1,000 feet long. However, it wasn't a real bird, but a wooden puppet. It had a head, legs, eyes, and wings, all of which were present. But it didn't have a single feather. It was a super purple wood kite. It stopped in the sky like a giant battleship. A female cultivator stood on the head of the purple wood kite. She was dressed in a blue dress, had a tall and slender figure, and was extremely beautiful. However, her face was cold and her eyebrows were raised. That was none other than Feng Wuhui. Miss, Xiaoyu's expression suddenly relaxed. We're saved. Xiaoyu moved and instantly landed on the purple wood kite, then knelt on both knees. I'm useless. Please punish me, miss. At this moment, Xiaoyu was only left with a soul. One should know that Xiaoyu wasn't a puppet, but a real cultivator. I'm late. Feng Wuhui didn't vent his anger on Xiaoyu, because he already knew that everything in front of him wasn't something that Xiaoyu could resist with the power of Tianfu City. Sumo, a scholar who's been away for 3 days, must be looked at with new eyes. Feng Wuhui sneered and looked at Sumo. You really surprised me. Huh. Sumo narrowed her eyes. Same to you. Congratulations, Miss Boo, on reaching the rebirth state. Rebirth state. At this moment, all the cultivators present, except for Sumo, Miao Long, and Mu Qingsheng, could see Feng Wuhui's realm. Indeed, Feng Wuhui had broken through from the peak of one life, immortal to one life rebirth state. This made all the reincarnators of the three realms suck in a breath of cold air. That sacred lotus divine will is indeed powerful. Feng Wuhui continued. Unfortunately, his original body is far away in the outer realms. No one can save you today. Whoosh! At this moment, before Feng Wuhui's voice faded, Mu Qingsheng had already flown up. Mu Qingsheng had already soared into the sky. In an instant, she completed the final fusion with the white-robed Linghu Hehuan. The power of rebirth. A long sword appeared in Mu Qingsheng's hand. The sword god of the three realms had returned to the mortal world. Chapter 616. Mu Qingsheng was the sword god of the three realms. Back then, in the entire three realms, no one could beat her in terms of swordsmanship. Who could compete with the sword of Qingsheng? Now, she had lived 2 lives. Although Mu Qingsheng had transformed into a yin and yang body, her swordsmanship was still there. The rebirth realm was divided into 9 levels. Currently, Mu Qingsheng was only at the 1st level, which was equivalent to the 1st level of the eternal realm in the three realms. This level still couldn't compare to Mu Qingsheng back then, but it was totally possible for Bu Wuhui, because Bu Wuhui was also at the 1st level of the rebirth realm. In a battle of the same level, each had their own abilities. Swish! Mu Qingsheng's sword was faster than lightning. At that moment, Xiaoyu couldn't help but instinctively step back. She even felt that Mu Qingsheng's sword had some of the sword intent of Li Shui. That was also a terrifying sword. The master of Nether City was this powerful? Buwuhui raised her eyebrows. She didn't expect that the first one to attack her wasn't Sumo, but the so-called master of Nether City. The first level of the rebirth realm. All of this was a bit unexpected, but Buwuhui was definitely not an ordinary person. Her reaction was definitely not something an ordinary cultivator could compare to. Mu Qingqing's sword turned into 100 zhang long white tail. But Buwuhui's body moved and instantly disappeared from the purple wood kite. There was no aura. Mu Qingqing's sword swept over the purple wood kite's head. Mu Qingqiang couldn't help but raise her eyebrows. In the next moment, Buwuhui appeared less than 100 zhang away from Mu Qingqing. For cultivators, this distance was not a distance at all. Sky-treading cloud steps. Mu Qingqing's expression changed slightly. Yi Sanqing's expression changed as he watched the battle from behind. That step technique was Muyun Villa's ultimate technique. It came from Bu Miaoyan. Buwuhui actually received Bu Miaoyan's true inheritance? One should know that the sky-treading cloud steps of the three realms was comparable to the heavenly fox steps of the monster Venerable. Buwuhui actually knows the sky-treading cloud steps. Bu Miaoyan's divine puppet is truly marvelous beyond words. Mu Qingqing's thoughts spun rapidly as she felt astonished. At this time, Buwuhui's spell arrived. She waved her hand, and clanging sounds rang out in the void. It was the sound of bells, but there were no bells in the void at all. However, the ringing of the bell actually turned from slow to urgent. Bells rang all over the Bitterwheel Sea, and many cultivators were confused. They were merely affected by the aftershocks, but Mu Qingqing was the one who suffered the greatest damage. It was as if thousands of bells were ringing in his ears, the cacophony of noises lingering in his ears. At the same time, countless purple wind chimes appeared in front of him, swaying in the wind and confusing his eyes. The purple light that filled the sky was blinding. Hallucination technique. Mu Qingqing understood in her heart, after which she bit down on the tip of her tongue. The pain she felt caused her heart to tremble. Then, the sword in her hand suddenly swept outwards. The sword light spread out and formed an absolute defense. And it was this defense that saved her. Boom! Crack, because, unknowingly, Buwuhui had already come to her side. He waved his hand and a gray mountain pressed down. It was an extraordinary magic treasure. However, it was directly swept by Mu Qingqing's sword light. Spiritual energy scattered, lightning flashed, and thunder roared. The two of them suddenly separated. Mu Qingqing's sword, of course, couldn't compare to Li Shui's sword. However, Buwuhui's mountain was not Tianfu City. Looking again, the sword light soared into the sky and directly cut off a corner of the mountain. In an instant, Mu Qingqing also recovered her divine sense and quickly retreated. Just now it was so dangerous. Buwuhui's illusory technique had reached the point where it could be used at will. Fortunately, Mu Qingqing was at the same level as him. Otherwise, she would have died without a doubt. Miss Bu, such a powerful illusory technique. Mu Qingqing held the immortal sword in her hand and faintly smiled. No matter how powerful it is, didn't you still fail to kill City Lord Mu? The corner of Buwuhui's mouth also curled up. The Nine Nether City was established by my Grandmaster with the help of your Nine Nether tribe, and we even signed a contract. Now, you want to rebel? This could be considered as treachery. Mu Qingqing shook her head. There's no trust in an alliance under the city. I'm sure you know what happened in the past. My Nine Nether tribe has paid the price for that for tens of thousands of years. Now, we don't want to be controlled by others. Freedom is very important. Moreover, freedom? Buwuhui interrupted Mu Qingqing and couldn't help but coldly smile. City Lord Mu, I'll give you a chance. Admit your mistake now, and I'll give you freedom. Admit my mistake? Mu Qingqing smiled and said, There's no mistake in the Nine Nether tribe. Why should I admit my mistake? Moreover, freedom is not given by others, but fought for by ourselves. We don't need anything from the corpse sect, because we are the descendants of the three realms, the people of the Xing River. Speaking up to here, Mu Qingsheng slightly raised her sword and pointed it at Bu Wuhui. Bu Xingkong, you are the genius of the three realms. Actually, you all came from the three realms, so why do you want to enslave us? In your hearts, there is no three realms, and there is no Xing River. Enslave? In the myriad realms, how many people are not enslaved? Bu Wuhui looked at Mu Qingsheng and then looked at Sumo. You will pay the price for being so stubborn. Three realms? Hee hee. Bu Wuhui sneered. Her eyes were actually filled with deep sorrow. Sumo couldn't help but frown at the look in his eyes, because she had seen that kind of sorrow in Yi Wuhui's memory. A purple-robed cultivator was in front, and a blue-robed girl was behind. They wandered in the myriad realms. The blue-robed girl's eyes were filled with sorrow. What is the three realms? What is the Xing River? Bu Wuhui's gaze once again swept past Mu Qingsheng, Sumo, Long Li, Yu Wuji, Gan Tianqing, Mo Wenqing, and Bai Wanqin. Finally, her gaze stopped on Yi Kansheng, and she couldn't help but smile faintly. That smile was very sad, but also very warm. At that moment, Yi Sanxing's heart slightly trembled. They're not my home. Bu Wuhui's smile suddenly disappeared. Then, she quickly formed a seal with her hands. My puppets. Kill them. Ha ha, ha. Bu Wuhui instantly went crazy. Her technique filled the sky. Whoosh, whoosh. Looking again, the blue sun on the left that had been staying in the void all along burst out rays of light. Inside the spell formation, countless purple wood kites suddenly flew out. Countless purple wood kites fell from the sky, like a purple rain, like a tide. And on each purple wood kite, there was a 3-inch puppet. Their forms could be changed, and they were very lifelike. Then, in the blink of an eye, they changed into the appearance of real cultivators. An army of puppets. That was the army of puppets of the corpseless sect. They existed in the legends of the Pure Land. According to the legends, it was a force that the corpseless sect would only use in the battle for supremacy in the Star Realm. Kill. The sound of killing shook the entire Pure Land. At this moment, all the samsara travelers of the three realms were also casting their techniques. Mu Qingqing's immortal sword turned into a long rainbow. Qi Zi's wings were like red clouds. The white mist on Miao Long, Er's body was like a long river. Gan Tianqing's 9-colored light let out a dragon's roar. Kill, for the three realms, for the Xing River. All the cultivators displayed their abilities. However, Sumo stood in the void in a daze, because in front of her there was actually darkness. The dragon elephant soul devouring beast was on the left, and the black feather deity was on the right. They all looked the same as Sumo. Bu Wuhui looked at Sumo and smiled coldly. Miao Shu House. Chapter 617. On the bitter we'll see, the will to fight filled the air. The reincarnators of the three realms were all using killing techniques that attacked indiscriminately. They could fight against 10, or even 100, or even 1,000. However, there were countless puppets. The puppet army of the corpseless sect was not made up of ordinary puppets. Those puppets were almost immortal. Every time a puppet was killed, it would immediately become a 3-inch puppet, and then it would be resurrected in an instant. Only after being killed 3 times would it die completely, and every time it was resurrected, it would become stronger. Such a characteristic made the puppet army almost invincible. Moreover, there were still purple wood kites coming out of the purple-blue magic formation. There was a 3-inch puppet on each purple wood kite. That was the terrifying power of the corpseless sect. In fact, Sumo and the others had underestimated the power that Tianfu City could mobilize, as well as Bu Wuhui's determination to control everything. At this time, Sumo's side had already suffered a lot of casualties. As time went by, they gradually fell into a disadvantageous position. Most importantly, Sumo was still standing in the void in a daze. There was only darkness in front of him. At that moment, Sumo felt that he was suddenly placed in a deep sea. He didn't know what was going on. There was a bright light above his head. However, his body kept sinking. Sumo wanted to rush to the surface. However, he didn't have a trace of strength in his body. However, Sumo thought he was awake. Vaguely, He seemed to be able to hear the sounds of fighting outside. Had he fallen into the bitter wheel sea? However, it didn't seem like it. He couldn't control everything. That feeling was like a mortal's nightmare. Sumo thought he could sense everything, but he couldn't make a sound, let alone control his body. That kind of feeling was simply unimaginable for a sea destruction realm expert. Moreover, Sumo was a special sea destruction realm expert, while his divine sense was at the venerable realm. What's going on? Sumo kept telling himself to stay calm as he continued to sink. Is it an illusion? However, Sumo was confident that unless a venerable realm cultivator cast a spell on him, he would never fall into an illusion. However, what was the reason for the current situation? Sumo felt that she had reached the bottom of the sea, because he was no longer descending. He raised his head and saw a faint yellow and distant light. It was like an unreachable dim sun in a gray sky, incomparably cold. The indistinct battle cries grew even more distant. Sumo felt like he was in another world, and he couldn't get out. He felt a little uneasy in his heart. Could it be that he had been sealed? At this time, the battle in the outside world could be said to be white-hot. Mu Qingsheng was the first to notice Sumo's abnormality and couldn't help but shout his name. Bu Wuhui's mouth curved. Her hand were constantly forming a seal. Sumo, listen to me. Kill her. Bu Wuhui made a hand seal and pointed at Mu Qingsheng. Mu Qingsheng couldn't help but be slightly startled. However, Sumo's body suddenly shook and then suddenly moved. He really went straight for Mu Qingsheng. Whoosh! The bamboo pole in her hand suddenly waved and turned into a 100-zhong-long light tail that swept towards Mu Qingsheng. At that moment, Sumo's eyes were completely gray. It was not a normal look. What's going on? Mu Qingsheng was shocked. The immortal sword in her hand suddenly blocked outwards. Boom! Two great forces fiercely collided. Mu Qingsheng was, after all, a rebirth realm cultivator, so she didn't move at all. However, Sumo was directly sent flying by her strength. This was because Mu Qingsheng had held back. Otherwise, with her current realm, she could totally kill Sumo. Sumo didn't suffer any serious injuries. In the air, he abruptly turned around and dashed towards Mu Qingsheng once again. At the same time, his hands had already formed a seal. Dark art, soul-splitting. Looking again, a black hole suddenly appeared in the void. That black hole was deep and bottomless like a tunnel. It actually followed Sumo forward and went straight for Mu Qingsheng. A strong suction force seemed to want to completely devour Mu Qingsheng. Mu Qingsheng's elegant eyebrows twitched, and her eyes were full of shock. Sumo was actually controlled by Bu Wuhui. What was going on? Sumo. Mu Qingsheng also formed a seal with her hands and directly released a ball of white light. Boom! The white light went straight into the black hole and instantly exploded. Of course, Sumo's technique was of the top level, but his strength was still at the sea annihilation realm. That kind of strength could not cause substantial damage to Mu Qingsheng. Therefore, Mu Qingsheng's rebirth power directly detonated his black hole. Boom! Rumble. This time, the impact of their battle was far greater than any other battle. The other reincarnators of the three realms also discovered the problem here. Why did Sumo start to attack Mu Qingsheng? Sumo, Demon King, Dark Supremacy. Many cultivators shouted loudly. However, Sumo turned a deaf ear to them. The grayish-white color in his eyes became more and more intense, and his actions became more determined. Ha ha ha! Bu Wuhui stood in the void and sneered. Sumo, listen to my order. Kill all of them. Ha ha! At this moment, the hearts of all the reincarnators of the three realms sank. They did not know why Sumo had become Bu Wuhui's puppet. This was absolutely unimaginable to them. Bewitching technique? Mu Qingsheng guessed. However, she did not know when Bu Wuhui cast a technique on Sumo. Just now, Bu Wuhui did not do much, and he did not even get close to Sumo. Moreover, Sumo had recovered all of her memories. His divine sense was at the venerable realm. Ordinary illusion techniques were completely ineffective against him. Unless, before Sumo recovered all of her memories, that technique existed in Sumo's body. Moreover, it grew along with his strength. That was the only possible situation. Whoosh, whoosh. At this moment, Sumo had completely lost his mind. He continuously cast his great techniques, and the only one who could stop him was Mu Qingsheng. At some point in time, the crimson puppet had also stopped moving in the air. The reincarnated puppet had really become a puppet. As Sumo became more and more obsessed, he completely lost his vitality. Sumo, Mu Qingsheng hurriedly shouted while dispelling Sumo's technique. In fact, it was not an ordinary cry for help. It contained the reincarnation technique, but did not seem to have much effect. Sumo's movements did not slow down at all. Whoosh, roar, clang. At this moment, the eyes of the Dracophant soul-devouring beast and the black feather deity turned somewhat pale. The beast and the bird attacked Mu Qingsheng at the same time. Mu Qingsheng could not help but raise her eyebrows. She was not afraid of them, but the current situation was extremely disadvantageous to her side. After all, she could not kill Sumo. She could not easily hurt the pair of divine beasts. Most importantly, Mu Qingsheng was worried that the reincarnated puppet would also be assimilated. That was a reincarnation-level puppet. Once it attacked, she was afraid that she would not be able to block their attacks. Sumo was already controlled. If anything happened to her, everything would be over. Chapter 618. Boom! Bang! Mu Qingsheng waved her hand, and the reincarnation power sent the Dracophant soul-devouring beast and the black feather deity flying. Although the two divine beasts were powerful, they couldn't even get close to her. Even in the Yizong world, a rebirth state was an absolute expert. At the same time, the sword in Mu Qingsheng's hand moved and formed a sword arc that was hundreds of feet long. The sword arc sealed the void within a radius of hundreds of feet with her as the center. No cultivator who wasn't a rebirth state cultivator could get close. Chi! Then, Mu Qingsheng quickly formed a seal with both hands. The immortal sword in her hand was sent into the void. 1 became 10, 10 became 100, and 100 became 1,000,000. Mu Qingsheng's entire body was filled with sword light. The sword light fluctuated like an ocean. Her graceful figure stood in the sword light like a goddess of sword light. Alluring sword. Mu Qingsheng understood that if she wanted to break Sumo's puppet state, she had to kill Bu Wu Hui. The longer it took, the more disadvantageous it would be. Therefore, she had to finish it in one go. The reincarnation power rippled in the void. At this moment, suppressed by Mu Qingsheng's reincarnation power, the battle within 100 miles stopped. All the cultivators instinctively retreated. Otherwise, they would be turned into ashes. Of course, all of this happened in an instant. Bu Wu Hui showed no fear and sneered. However, she was also forming a seal. In a battle between cultivators of the same level, it was a battle of experience and the profoundness of spells. What Bu Wu Hui had learned was definitely not inferior to Mu Qingsheng, because she had indeed received the teachings of the Three Realms ghost prodigy, Bu Miaoyan. Blue light rose from Bu Wu Hui's body. There was a whistling sound like flames. At the same time, a purple cloud appeared under her feet. The purple cloud gradually spread and tumbled. In fact, those who had seen Bu Miaoyan before would know that the purple cloud belonged to Bu Miaoyan. He also passed the purple cloud to Bu Wu Hui. It was Bu Wu Hui's defensive treasure. At that moment, Bu Wu Hui didn't activate Sumo again, because she wanted to use Sumo to give Mu Qingsheng and the others a fatal blow. Instant, eternal. The two of them cast their spells almost at the same time. The entire Pure Land could see it. Tens of thousands of swords clashed with a strange purple cloud in the sky. That scene was magnificent and magnificent. Boom, boom, rumble. A blue and white mushroom cloud rose above the Bitterwheel Sea. At that moment, the entire Pure Land was shaking. The chaotic God continent and the ancient Shu continent were shaking violently. It was a power that shook the entire Pure Land. Within the sky ditch, countless black mists surged. In the dark room, many monsters that had been hiding for tens of thousands of years howled in unison. They felt extremely uneasy. None of the cultivators who participated in this battle would ever forget this scene. A real battle of the rebirth level. In theory, That kind of power was enough to tear the Pure Land world into pieces. Fortunately, the impact between them dissipated most of the force. All the cultivators retreated and activated their defenses. The cultivators who were slightly slower, and even the puppets riding on the purple wood kites, were directly turned into dust. Mu Qingsheng and Bu Wuhui both used their true strength. At this moment, each of them retreated for tens of miles. However, as rebirth-level cultivators, they could resist that kind of power. Not only could they resist it, but they also had their own moves. After Mu Qingsheng attacked, she formed another hand seal. It was a very coherent movement. Her hands were clasped in front of her chest, and her black robe fluttered. Her long hair fluttered in the wind, and her face was full of heroic spirit. At that moment, she actually turned into a man. After which, a 3-inch-long sword appeared in the center of Mu Qingsheng's brows. The 3-inch sword emitted a faint black light. It was completely different from the sword just now. Soul Sword. That was Mu Qingsheng's soul sword, and also his last resort. Destroy. Mu Qingsheng roared. At this moment, he seemed to have turned into the sword god of the 3 realms. The 3-inch sword expanded in the wind and turned into a black lightning. Crack, crack. In the sky, there was a muffled sound of thunder. Then, the black lightning directly pierced through the mushroom cloud and rushed towards Buwuhui. In terms of killing, Mu Qingsheng far surpassed Buwuhui, because back in the 3 realms, countless swordsmen died under his Qingsheng sword. Back then, Mu Qingsheng had only lost once in a battle. That was to Wang Ju's great prohibition of heaven and earth. As for his second soul, it was killed by Liu Su and by Xiaoxi. Therefore, in a life and death battle, he was more experienced. The Black Soul Sword went straight for Buwuhui. However, Buwuhui was also prepared. She could not be like Mu Qingsheng, who quickly used the second technique. But she had a puppet. Moreover, Mu Qingsheng's second sword seemed to be within her expectations. Sumo, Buwuhui shouted coldly. Whoosh! At the moment when the soul sword flew over, Sumo's body appeared in front of her like a ghost. Sumo's eyes were gray. He could not control himself. At that moment, Sumo's soul was still struggling in the deep sea. Sumo. This was Mu Qingsheng's exclamation of surprise. However, it was too late. His last sword was the real killing move. At this moment, it was impossible for him to stop. Ha ha ha! Buwuhui's plan worked. With just one step, she disappeared from where she stood. Puff! That black soul sword, that black lightning, actually pierced through Sumo's immortal heart. For a moment, golden bloodlight filled the sky, like exploding golden stars. At that moment, everyone understood. Sumo had died. Sumo, Demon King. All the reincarnators of the 3 realms had ashen faces. This was a situation they had never expected. Almost everyone rushed to the place where Sumo died. Mu Qingsheng's body stiffened. He was very clear about the power of his sword. Not to mention Sumo, even Buwuhui would die if he was hit by that soul sword. At this moment, behind Mu Qingsheng, Buwuhui took a step forward. The distance between the two of them was only about 10 feet. Sky-treading cloud steps. What Buwuhui needed was this moment. She turned her hand, and a blue spear appeared in her hand. That long spear was formed by her reincarnation power. The long spear was like a long dragon, breaking the void and piercing towards Mu Qingsheng. At this moment, Mu Qingsheng had no defense at all. Sumo's death had completely disrupted her mind. Moreover, Sumo had died under his sword. That moment of absent-mindedness was fatal. Whoosh! Buwuhui's long spear was like a comet. At that moment, there was a cold smile on Buwuhui's face. He had already killed Sumo, and now he was going to kill Mu Qingsheng. The rest of the motley crew was nothing to worry about. She could make all the reincarnators of the 3 realms into puppets. Resurrected puppets were far superior to imitation puppets. Buwuhui's smile was extremely strange and evil. However, at this moment, a black shadow suddenly appeared behind Mu Qingsheng. He had to block Buwuhui's spear or die under her spear. Chapter 619. The long spear was like a dragon, heading straight for Mu Qingsheng. However, a black shadow suddenly appeared. It was Yi Qiansheng. Yi Qiansheng was extremely ugly. At this moment, his whole body was covered in defense. The Mara star-studded whip was like a dragon. That was his absolute defense. The black turtle was under his feet, and the black fog was rolling. Yi Xingbai used to be in the 7th tier of the Eternal Realm, and he had the strongest defense. However, Yi Qiansheng was only in the middle stage of the Breaking Realm. He could not stop Bu Wuhui's spear. So, he was simply going to die. Chi, boom. The long spear came, and when it was still 2 or 3 feet away, it had already blown away the Mara star-studded whip. Yi Sanqing's power was not enough to make the venerable divine weapon exert its power. If he did not have a strong defense, he would have been smashed into pieces. Even so, Yi Sanqing's body began to crack. Roar! The black turtle roared, and at the same time, its body shook. A layer of black turtle shell suddenly fell off, and then it blocked in front of Yi Qiansheng. Boom! Crack! However, it could not stop Bu Wuhui's long spear. The turtle shell instantly shattered, scattering in the void. Yi Qiansheng would definitely die. However, at this critical moment, Lin Fan's expression changed. Bu Wuhui's complexion suddenly changed. His body shook violently, and he actually withstood the long spear. Boom! Looking again, the long spear formed by the reincarnation power was smashed. Whoa! However, because Bu Wuhui suddenly stopped her powerful attack, her Dantian Si was damaged by the backfire of the technique. She spat out a mouthful of blood. Instantly, Bu Wuhui's face turned pale. She did not kill Yi Qiansheng. Bu Wuhui wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth, and then she angrily stared at Yi Qiansheng and fiercely said, "Get out of the way." Little sister. Yi Qiansheng was covered in blood, but he looked at Bu Wuhui with a sad smile. "Get out." At that moment, Bu Wuhui seemed to be unable to restrain her anger. She suddenly waved her hand. Bang! Yi Qiansheng was directly knocked down to the Netherworld City. However, Bu Wuhui showed mercy again. However, at this moment, Mu Qingsheng had already reacted. He spun around and stabbed out with his sword. This sword was not to kill Bu Wuhui, but to force him to retreat. Sure enough, Bu Wuhui was already injured and had no strength to kill Mu Qingsheng, so he took the opportunity to retreat. Young miss. At this moment, Xiaoyu had already caught Bu Wuhui on the purplewood kite. Bu Wuhui's face was pale, and he gasped for breath. He took out a pellet and swallowed it. Only then did his complexion improve slightly. Just now, it was as if she had attacked herself. Xiaoyu did not understand why the eldest miss suddenly stopped. However, she did not dare to ask. Who? Hua. At that moment, the battle between the two sides came to a halt. Sumo, Demon King. In the void, Sumo had already turned into a golden mist and was gradually dissipating. The Dracophant soul-devouring beast and He Yu Hong roared into the sky. With Sumo's death, they returned to normal. However, in an instant, they all sensed Sumo's disappearance. The reborn child stood in the void blankly. For a moment, he seemed to have become a masterless object. Ha! Bu Wuhui sneered. At the same time, she took out a purple box with a shake of her hand. That purple box went straight to the reborn child. She wanted to collect the reborn child. At this moment, Mu Qingqing's eyes were already bloodshot. In fact, not only her, but all the reincarnators of the 3 realms had their eyes filled with blood. Sumo's death meant that there was no hope of restoring the Milky Way. Sumo was the leader of the 3 realms. Without AMU, Sumo alone supported their belief in restoring the Milky Way. Since there was no hope, they were no longer afraid of death. If they were not afraid of death, then what was there to be afraid of? After all, the purpose of the reincarnation of the 3 realms was to restore the Milky Way. Ha! Mu Qingsheng abruptly threw her head back and let out a long laugh. That was a laugh that bordered on madness. Bu Wuhui, you are the center of the 3 realms. I'll bury you with me. Whoosh! Mu Qingqing's long hair was flying again. Endless black light was like a burning flame. He made a seal with his hand and ignited his god soul. His whole body seemed to have become a sword. He and the sword became one. That was the level that Mu Qingsheng had reached a long time ago. However, this time, he would rather die with Buwuhui. He would rather die with Buwuhui than live in dishonor. There was no hope of revival, so why not cherish this body? Besides, Sumo died under his sword in the end. Mu Qingsheng had to die. At that moment, he was the most powerful sword in the world. The world changed color, and the bitter sea surged. A sword went straight to Buwuhui. At the same time, Yu Wuji also made a move. In fact, she was not qualified to challenge Buwuhui at the later stage of the world-breaking stage. However, she flew up. She used the cyan light between her eyebrows. The light of the Azure Demon. A sword and a ray of light attacked Buwuhui at the same time. This should be the last and strongest power that the reincarnators of the three realms could use. The power of the reincarnation level. With Buwuhui's current situation, it was impossible for him to take on these two powers at the same time. Moreover, Mu Qingsheng and Yu Wuji were no longer defending. They wanted to die together. What? Buwuhui raised her eyebrows. In fact, she did not understand why they were doing this. Sumo was dead. What were they still pursuing? What was the meaning of reviving the three realms? Hiding could also be her home, because in Buwuhui's heart, she had always been a wanderer. Her home had already been destroyed. She had no home. Whoosh, Buwuhui's heart moved. The purple wooden box suddenly turned into an arc and went straight to the cyan light that Yu Wuji used. It had no chance to take back the pure child puppet. Boom, crack, the cyan demonic light hit the purple box. It was a reincarnation-level treasure. However, it was directly smashed into powder. However, the cyan demonic light also dimmed. The rest of the power could not cause fatal damage to Buwuhui. At the same time, a green figure suddenly flew out from the last purple sun that had been silent all this time. The figure was extremely fast. He took a step forward and took out a folding fan. The folding fan changed with the wind and instantly turned into a picture of mountains and rivers. In the void, the mountains and rivers were picturesque and extremely beautiful. It was as if another world had been created in the void. Boom! The picture of mountains and rivers blocked Mu Qingsheng. However, all the illusions collapsed in an instant. The mountains and rivers were broken and rose up. Countless fragments fell on the Bitterwheel Sea, stirring up thousands of feet-high waves. Wow! Mu Qingsheng directly flew out and spat out a mouthful of blood. His body was full of wounds and blood flowed like a fountain. His physical body could not be preserved at all. Bang! In an instant, Mu Qingsheng split into three. However, two of the clones directly collapsed, leaving only the white-robed Linghu Huan, who fell into the Netherworld City. Looking again, the cyan figure that suddenly appeared also flew out. Wuwa! The cultivator's body was also injured. However, his realm was higher, so he did not look like Mu Qingsheng at all. Looking again, the cyan figure lowered his head and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. Then, he raised his head and looked at everything fiercely. Bu Siyun. At this moment, Yu Wuji and Yi Kanxing both exclaimed. Chapter 620. It was Bu Siyun, the second prince of the corpseless sect. The reincarnators of the three realms would never have thought that Bu Siyun would suddenly appear. Bu Siyun was in the third plane of the rebirth realm. His appearance meant that everything was over. Who could stop Nya Wuhui and Bu Siyun together? Not to mention that Sumo had already died. Linghu Huan landed on the Nether City with a sad expression. She was only a cultivator at the peak of the sea destruction realm. In a sense, Mu Qingsheng was already dead. Linghu Huan and Mu Qingsheng couldn't be mentioned in the same breath. You will all become puppets. Bu Siyun looked at all the reincarnators of the three realms and smiled. There was still blood at the corner of his mouth. Then he waved his hands. Thousands of puppet cultivators flew out of the light array he had just come out from. The cultivators of the puppets were wearing purple robes and hoods. The style of the purple robes was exactly the same as the replicas and reborn puppets that Sumo had encountered before. It was Bu Siyun's army in purple. The puppets and the two armies of the corpseless sect had all appeared here. Turn them into corpses. Busiyun smiled eerily. Then they will become your companions. Whoosh! Busiyun gave the order, and all the puppets in purple rushed toward the Netherworld city. At the same time, Nye Wuhui's puppet army moved again. The two armies would be destroyed. The reincarnators of the three realms could only fight to the death. Whoosh! Meanwhile, Miaolong was quickly making hand seals. North Chill City, which had stopped not far from Tianfu City, was rapidly sinking toward the Netherworld city. That was probably the only way to save the descendants of the three realms, because the Netherworld city would definitely be lost. However, the North Chill City could directly cross the border and escape. As long as the cultivators of the three realms could reach the North Chill City, Miaolong would be able to take them away. Neither Qi Wuhui nor Bu Siyun had the ability to break into the Northern Cold City. However, this change seemed to be within the brother and sister's expectations. Nye Wuhui waved his hand. Whoosh! The three purple and blue arrays in the void shone at the same time. The three purple and blue suns shone at the same time and emitted a powerful suction force. Miaolong frowned. That was because the Northern Chill City had been frozen in the void sky. Miaolong's driving force and the suction force of the three formations formed a kind of balance. Return! Miaolong shouted in a low voice. At the same time, he changed his hand sign. The Northern Chill City was like a Dharma treasure of hers, so it should listen to her. However, the three Dharma formations in the sky were too powerful. Qi Wuhui also changed his incantation. When he looked again, the three formations were actually gradually merging into one. A gigantic purplish-blue hole of light appeared in the void. Through the hole of light, one could vaguely see a purple hall. The hall was ancient and magnificent, and it was enshrouded in purple mist, making it seem like a fairyland. Purple Demon Palace. Unfortunately, Miaolong, and the others didn't know who she was. Qi Wuhui actually used the power of the Purple Fiend Palace. It seemed that she had long since prepared for this battle and was determined to win. This city is not bad. I'll take it, Nye Wuhui said with a cold smile. How could Miaolong stop? However, she was losing control of the Northern Chill City. The power of the purplish-blue hole far surpassed hers. Miaolong's face was already pale. Master, Miaolong murmured in her mind. At the same time, a jade pendant appeared around her neck. It was a life-saving item that Han Bingyi had given her. In the past, Miaolong had Han Bingyi's immortal will to protect her. However, during the Battle of the Undying Kingdom, she had used it to deal with Qi Wuhui. Now, the power of her jade pendant was even greater. Miaolong didn't even know if it would be her master's real body that would appear after the jade pendant was broken. Han Bingyi had told her not to use it unless it was absolutely necessary. Otherwise, it would consume a lot of Han Bingyi's energy. That day, the Northern Chill City survival was at stake. If Qi Wuhui took the Northern Chill City, then Miaolong would definitely die. Therefore, she had to crush the jade pendant. Miaolong's eyes flashed with determination. Once her master arrived, everything would be settled. However, at that moment, there was an unexpected change in the void. Dong, dong, dong. An extremely loud sound suddenly reverberated in the void. The sound was simple and powerful, and it overshadowed all the sounds of fighting. At first, it sounded like someone was beating a drum, one beat after another, slowly and deeply. Then it gradually sped up. The sound seemed to have a myriad of magical powers. That was because everyone present could hear that voice. It seemed to be ringing in their ears. So with that voice, all the fighting actually stopped. Qi Wuhui raised his brows, and he couldn't help but look at Busiyun. She was the first one to recognize it. It wasn't a drum, it was the sound of a heartbeat. But whose heartbeat was that? The heartbeat had completely affected the current situation. Moreover, Qi Wuhui and Busiyun were a little distracted. Following that, a golden and green light suddenly appeared in the void. The lights seemed to have appeared out of nowhere. However, They all appeared at the place where Sumo had just died. When Sumo died, there was a burst of golden light. Now, the golden light seemed to have returned, and there were rays of green light mixed in the golden light. In the void, there was a formless pressure that made everyone unable to move at all. At that moment, even Chi Wu-Hui and Bu Siyun were frozen in the void. They were like mortals bathing in the divine light, waiting for God's edict. Caressing the sword, singing in the snow, ages pass by in a blink of an eye. Who can understand me? Even if the world is desolate and the earth grows old. Who is an immortal in the boundless mortal world? Who could be a demon? The three realms are empty. Beyond the blue sky, don't ask, what is the cause and effect on the roulette? Smiling at the 3,000 paths, I tell you, unwilling to be a passerby. The loud voice reverberated, shaking the pure land. All the cultivators in the pure land heard the old song. At that moment, the eyes of the reincarnators of the three realms became moist. Because it was the song of parting, the song of the vast ocean, the song of parting. They were the symbols of the three realms. At the same time, they all recognized that it was Sumo's voice. Sumo, Demon King, Dark Sovereign, the golden light and green light in the void began to converge and gradually formed a human figure. However, it was only a figure glowing in blue. He was sitting cross-legged on a roulette. Black and white lights glowed on the nine-wheel immortal platform. Unfortunately, Sumo couldn't see it at the moment. Otherwise, he would be shocked, because it was his other self sitting on his Dan C. The scene in front of them shocked everyone. Chi Wu-Hui's expression fluctuated. Was Sumo still alive? But he couldn't sense Sumo's soul anymore. That bowl of refreshing soup that he had prepared had the greatest effect today. Previously, Sumo was completely under his control. Boom! However, at that moment, the immortal platform the figure was sitting on suddenly exploded. Thousands of lights returned to his body. In the blink of an eye, the figure slowly stood up in the endless light. A snow-white robe gradually appeared on his body. His long hair fluttered in the wind, and his face was like a demon. Demon King. All the reincarnators of the three realms were surprised and dumbfounded. Chapter 6:21. Demon King. That white robe was whiter than snow. That face was as beautiful as a demon. Sumo had returned to the appearance of the three realms. That aura was far better than before. At that moment, everyone held their breath. Thump, thump, the heartbeat was still echoing. The song of parting regret was still echoing. And the incarnation of Sumo did not immediately open his eyes. He closed his eyes slightly and floated in the void. At this moment, a lot of spiritual power began to pour into his Dan C. With him, as the center, an incomparably huge golden vortex was formed. That vortex was comparable to the huge purple-blue formation behind Wu-Hui. Sumo, Demon King, Dark Supreme, the reincarnators of the three realms began to shout for Sumo. But Sumo was still floating in the air, still unaware. But his originally somewhat illusory body was slowly solidifying. He was resurrecting. All of this was like a dream to Sumo. Back then, he felt that he had sunk to the bottom of the sea and could only look up at the light above his head. He could even feel that the world outside of him was constantly fighting. But he was powerless. He was trapped in a cage. Gradually, he felt his eyelids getting heavier and heavier, as if he was about to fall asleep completely. But Sumo was struggling to resist with his own willpower. Whoosh! He could hear the endless sound of the wind in his ears. He could even feel that the world he was in was constantly moving. He seemed to be fighting, but he was not the one in charge of that battle. Sumo tried hard to keep his eyes open, because he had a premonition that once he closed his eyes, he would be doomed eternally. His head began to feel dizzy and painful. That pain was like countless black ants gnawing at his consciousness. Sumo wanted to shout loudly, but he could not make a sound. That feeling was worse than death. Boom! Bang! Endless waves of air swept over him, and Sumo felt as if he was floating with the void. Sumo was in a trance, but in this trance he knew that he must have been under a spell. Unfortunately, he did not know what technique it was, nor did he know how to break it. Suddenly, Sumo clenched his teeth and used all the strength he could sense to rush upwards. At that moment, he felt like he was really rushing forward. However, the distance between him and the light above his head did not change at all, so he felt that he had not moved at all. That feeling was complicated and oppressive. At this moment, Sumo's eyes lit up. He saw a sword, a small black sword less than 3 inches long. He saw Mu Qingsheng. His sword went straight for him. Sumo looked at everything blankly. He didn't know why it was like that. Bang! The world spun, and the light above his head suddenly disappeared. Then, Sumo felt her body shatter. Golden light, like flames, leaped up around him. He had been killed. However, he did not feel any pain. That black sword light seemed to have pierced through his body, but he did not feel it. Inside the golden light, Sumo floated. He felt that he could move, but he could not see his own existence. He was like a formless and formless wandering soul, existing in a spiritual state. He, himself, entered a strange space. Hua! Sumo heard the sound of water and smelled the fragrance. Then he saw countless lotus flowers again. At the end of the sea, there was a snow-white mountain. It seemed to be a snowy mountain, shrouded in celestial mist, visible but unreachable. Perfume sea. Then he saw the broken bamboo pole, the soul depository cauldron, the golden skeleton, Mu Wang's puppet, the peach blossom puppet, the life and death puppet, and the black demonic boat. Faintly, he could also see the cosmos sack. Those were all Sumo's things. They were scattered in the air, scattered all over the place, in all shapes and sizes. Puzzled, Sumo instinctively frowned. But he was formless and formless. He could not frown. Whoosh! Hua! A gust of wind blew, and the lotus flowers on the perfumed sea swayed gently. Then, in the center of the sea, countless waves surged. As the waves rose, an immortal platform slowly rose. It was the 9 Dragons' immortal platform in Sumo's Dansi. However, the current 9 Dragons' immortal platform was different from before. It had long merged with the 3 realms' origin power, and its immortal platform was black and white. On the platform sat the figure of Azure Light. That was his other self, but his appearance was not very clear. Whoosh! Hua! The azure figure appeared, and not far away, Sumo saw a cultivator in black. That cultivator looked exactly like her old Xiao Luo, beautiful as a demon, with an inky temperament. There seemed to be the shadow of a withered tree next to the black-robed Xiao Luo. Under the withered tree, there were still countless skeletons. At this time, the black-robed Xiao Luo turned to look at Sumo and smiled faintly. Sumo, a general success is built on the bones of 10,000 people. Today, you will die again. What? Sumo asked, but he did not hear her voice at all. At the same time, a white-robed figure appeared in the distance. The white-robed figure appeared on a lotus flower, as if he had been born from it. The white-robed guardian king? That was Sumo's first thought. However, the white-robed figure was tall and slender. Apart from his appearance, his figure was exactly the same as Xiao Luo's. He slowly walked straight in Sumo's direction. With each step, a lotus flower rose. Ha! At this time, the black-robed Xiao Luo looked at the white-robed figure and smiled. You're here too. If I hadn't come, how would I have come back to life? The white-robed figure laughed. Actually, life and death are just a matter of doing it again. What's so difficult about that? His voice was exactly the same as the black-robed Xiao Luo's. Sumo did not understand what they were saying. Sumo, how could there be a white-robed guardian king? You should believe that we are kings. At this time, the white-robed figure smiled at Sumo. All kings should crawl under our feet. The black-robed Xiao Luo smiled and added, For us, death is always the beginning. Because we are immortal, the white-robed figure said, the so-called death is to be reborn. As he spoke, the black-robed Xiao Luo took a step toward the green-robed figure and directly merged into it. He and the green-robed figure merged into one. Looking at this scene, Sumo was shocked. Even with all the wisdom of the Dark Lord, he did not understand what was happening in front of him. Then, the white-robed figure waved at Sumo. Sumo, come. I'll bring you back to the same place. At that moment, Sumo felt herself suddenly plunging into the white-robed figure's embrace. Then she heard the long-lost song of parting, stroking the long sword, song of treading on the snow, endless ages, fleeting time. Let the world be desolate and the earth grow old, a beauty with white hair. Who can understand me? Beyond the blue sky, Lord Emo asks, what karma is on the wheel? Smiling at the 3,000 paths, I tell you, unwilling to be a passerby. The ancient song played again, and Sumo once again felt nothing. At this time, the white-robed Xiao Luo took a step and also merged into the Nine Dragons deity platform's green-robed figure. Whoosh, whoosh, the green-robed figure instantly turned white, and a beautiful Sumo appeared. At the same time, the Nine Dragons deity platform suddenly collapsed, and the many Dharma treasures returned to Sumo. Reborn. On the bitter we'll see, Sumo suddenly opened her eyes. Chapter 622. Demon King. Nether Sovereign. Many reincarnators of the three realms were calling out these two titles, because at this moment they were a little confused as to whether the person in front of them was still Sumo. Roar, clang. The Dracophant's soul-devouring beast and the black-feathered deity let out cries and landed on either side of Sumo. Their eyes were filled with excitement. Master, he was still master. At this moment, Bu-Wu-Hui and Bu Siyun's expressions changed slightly. That was because they felt an immense pressure. Who? All the golden and green light around Sumo gradually returned to her Dansi. The huge whirlpool immediately disappeared. Everything gradually calmed down as Sumo opened her eyes. The unparalleled pressure from before had also vanished into thin air. Sumo was dressed in white and was as beautiful as a demon. A cold smile hung on his face. Bu-Wu-Hui, are you disappointed? Sumo looked at Bu-Wu-Hui and said coldly. Sumo. Bu-Wu-Hui frowned with uncertainty. Hee, of course it's me. Sumo sneered. What? You can't recognize me now that I've changed my appearance? Hearing this, Bu-Wu-Hui couldn't help but form hand seals. It was the magical seal of the spirit refreshing soup. However, Sumo didn't react at all when she used the seal. What? Bu-Wu-Hui looked at Sumo coldly. Young Miss Bu, no matter what you did to me, I will not let you go. Now, they were all useless, because I've been reborn. As she spoke, Sumo smiled coldly, and then she pushed her hands outwards. Who? An unparalleled aura instantly spread out. Rebirth state? All the cultivators present could sense Sumo's power. His power was exactly the same as the previous rebirth level power. That was an absolute rebirth level power. The fifth layer of rebirth realm. Bu-Wu-Hui and Bu Siyun's expressions changed drastically. What exactly did Sumo experience to leap to the fifth rebirth realm that had already far surpassed them? He killed Sumo, but helped her to be reborn? Bu-Wu-Hui, Bu Siyun. Sumo's white robe fluttered in the wind. His body was already covered in a faint black mist. The demonic arc had appeared beneath his feet at some point. She was dressed in white and stepped on a demonic boat. She was as beautiful as a demon, and her temperament surpassed that of a demon. At this moment, Sumo's killing intent seemed to be even stronger than Xiao Luo's from back then. All of you must die. Kill. Sumo's voice sank slightly, and her power surged outwards. At the same time, he waved his hand, and the revived crimson child moved. Who? The blood-red wings opened again, and Chi-Zi flew straight to Bu-Wu-Hui. At that moment, Scarlet Child was like a vicious beast that had been dormant for many years, finally having the chance to bare his fangs. Bu-Wu-Hui was injured. At this moment, when she saw the revived Chi-Pao flying over, a trace of anger flashed through her eyes. She patted the purple wood kite that she was sitting on. That purple wood kite rushed forward, and Bu-Wu-Hui pulled Xiao Yu, who was next to her, and directly threw Xiao Yu into the purple-blue magic formation. In other words, she directly sent Xiao Yu back to the purple demon palace. Boom! Crack! Scarlet Child's wings flashed, and the purple wood kite, was directly smashed into pieces. Using this chance, Buwuhuwei had already formed another hand seal. At this moment, Buwuhuwei's eyes had a trace of blood red. In the Battle of the Pure Land, she had mobilized her puppet army, and even Bu Siyun. However, she didn't expect that she would use the mind-refreshing soup to let Sumo die under Mu Qingqing's sword, and in the end, it actually helped Sumo to be reborn. That was definitely not what Buwuhuwei wanted to see. Therefore, at this moment, she had decided to stake everything on one throw, and she wouldn't stop until she was dead. Following her spell, the inside of the purplish-blue array glowed brightly. The ancient and majestic purple demon palace rumbled, and it slowly moved forward. At this moment, it wasn't just the small pure land that was shaken. The purple demon palace was the core of Eastern Yi's third star area. That was where Buwuhuwei's most powerful force was. One should know that the small pure land was only 1,000th of Eastern Yi's third star area. At this moment, in order to defeat Sumo, Buwuhuwei actually mobilized the purple demon palace. Junior's sister, Bu Siyun's expression changed, because mobilizing the purple demon palace would very likely shake the foundation of the entire corpse sect in Eastern Istar area. "You shut up," Buwuhuwei shouted fiercely. At this moment, all she wanted to do was to kill Sumo. Boom, boom. The entire Pure Land was shaking. It was truly the shaking of the entire world, because the purple demon palace was slowly approaching the Pure Land. In the meantime, it had to pass through many small worlds. That scene was definitely a major event in Eastern Istar area for millions of years. Bu Siyun frowned, but he hesitated for a moment and didn't dare to say anything. At this moment, he only felt that Buwuhuwei was a bit crazy. Once the purple demon palace descended, it could completely crush the entire Pure Land, because they were not existences of the same level. The purple demon palace was one of the 4 sacred halls of the corpse sect. At this moment, Sumo sneered, "Buwuhuwei, looks like you want to give me the entire third star area of Eastern E, right? Fine. The Pure Land is indeed a bit small." Then, he looked at Sumo and raised his eyebrows. Then, his hands started to rapidly form seals. The current Sumo had already completed a qualitative leap. Although he was not as strong as when he was at the peak of the galaxy, the 5th stage of Rebirth Realm was already extraordinary. Whoosh! Sumo's long robe fluttered in the wind as he unleashed his techniques. As he unleashed his techniques, the entire Pure Land stopped shaking. The demonic boat under his feet started to grow bigger. 10 zhong, 100 zhong, 1,000 zhong. The demonic arc floated between the heavens and the earth, seemingly covering the entire Pure Land. At this moment, many places in the Pure Land had completely fallen into darkness. The aura on Sumo's body kept spreading. The power of samsara surged unceasingly like the tide of the sea. Dark technique, wind, tribulation. Sumo looked at Buwuhuwei and smirked. Changing the sky. Whoosh, whoosh. Endless black wind suddenly rose from Sumo's white robe. The black wind was like a storm from the end of the world, a tornado that connected the sky and the earth, heading straight for Buwuhuwei and Bu Siyun. It was the aura of death. Wherever the black wind went, everything turned into black ashes. Whether it was the puppet army or the purple army, not a single one was spared. Many of the 3-inch puppets were turned into ashes. There was no chance for them to come back to life. The purple army was covered in purple mist. It was an indiscriminate killing technique, a technique that could destroy heaven and earth, because it was the technique that Netherlord used to kill all living beings. Although Buwuhuwei had received Bu Miaoyin's true inheritance, she had never seen such a majestic technique. In fact, it wasn't just a technique, it was a kind of bearing. It was a bearing that dominated everything. The bearing of the Lord of the 3 realms. Sumo stood in the void and looked at the purple demon palace that was flying towards him. He wasn't afraid of it. Just as he said, he felt that the Pure Land was too small. 5th stage of Rebirth Realm. Sumo's gaze swept across the entire Dongi Star region. Chapter 6:23. Changing the world. Dark Lord really had that kind of power. At this moment, Sumo's technique could really change the world. However, Buwuhui's technique had already been formed. The Purple Demon Palace's aura passed through the formation. Although it was thousands of miles away, it still came. At this moment, Buwuhui and Bu Xiyun had already retreated to a place less than 100 zhang away from the formation. The reason for that was because only the power there could resist the Black Wind's invasion. The remaining puppets and purple-clothed soldiers had also retreated into the purple-blue spell formation. It was like a confrontation between two worlds. One was Sumo's black and white world, and the other was Buwuhui's purple world. The Black Wind was raging, and the demonic boat was like a piece of land. At this moment, Sumo's white clothes fluttered, and she almost controlled everything in the Pure Land. All the reincarnators of the three realms were shocked. The current Sumo was no longer the same as before. Whoosh, whoosh, in front of the purple and blue formation, the spirit wind was howling. The impact of the power was like thunder. Sumo's Black Wind was still squeezing the space between Buwuhui and Bu Xiyun. At the same time, Sumo's mind flickered, and the demonic boat under his feet was already moving forward. And as Sumo moved, the entire Black Tempest advanced even further. 100 zhang, 500 zhang, 300 zhang. The Black Wind swept everything. Buwuhui and Bu Xiyun retreated step by step, with their backs against the purple and blue formation. In fact, Buwuhui could choose to step into the formation and escape. But she wouldn't. According to Buwuhui's character, she would rather fight to the death than retreat. Moreover, she wasn't at the end of the line yet. As long as the Purple Demon Palace arrived, she was confident that she could turn the situation around. However, it seemed that Sumo didn't want her to wait for the Purple Demon Palace anymore. Second senior brother. Buwuhui sighed coldly. It seems that I have to sacrifice you. What? Bu Xiyun's expression changed. This was because he had a bad premonition in his heart. However, Buwuhui's words weren't a discussion, but a notification. She quickly formed a hand seal. Then, her glabella suddenly lit up. Between her eyebrows, a 3-inch puppet slowly appeared. The 3-inch puppet wore a green robe. Its face was as white as jade, and its eyebrows were like bright stars. That was Bu Xiyun. Bu Xiyun's expression changed as soon as the puppet appeared. This time, his real body had come to the Pure Land because Buwuhui had promised him 1/3 of the world in the 3rd star area of the Dongi Ancient Lotus, and he would help him expand to the Ancient Lotus Star area, lure them with benefits. Such a promise could not be said to be insignificant. That was why he appeared. In fact, if it weren't for Sumo's sudden change, he and Buwuhui would have already controlled everything. However, Bu Xiyun's face turned ashen when she saw the puppet. Because you remembered what big senior brother Bu Shinkong had said. How do you know you're not a puppet? The divine puppet was Bu Miaoyin's masterpiece. That was because he was almost creating a real human being. The god's puppet was almost omnipotent. However, the god puppet would never know that it was a puppet. They had the most complete and even the most stubborn memories. Their thoughts were almost the same as a real cultivator's. In Bu Xiyun's memory, Buwuhui was a god's puppet. That was why he had always wanted to take everything from Buwuhui. However, he was wrong. Second senior brother, don't be surprised. This was given to me by the ancestral master. Buwuhui smiled coldly. This time, if we can get through this, I will erase your memory. You are still the second prince of the corpse-less sect. Little sister. Bu Xiyun's face turned pale. He couldn't accept the fact that he was a puppet. Who didn't want to be a human? However, the reality was too cruel. That was why he screamed. Whoosh! However, Buwuhui wasn't in the mood and didn't have the time to listen to him. She changed the seal in her hand. The 3-inch puppet between her eyebrows instantly lit up. Everything about Bu Xiyun was under Buwuhui's control. This was many times more powerful than the mind-awakening soup that Sumo drank. When he looked again, Bu Xiyun's body shook slightly. In an instant, his eyes were no longer as bright as the stars, but instantly turned gray. It was exactly the same as Sumo's state. However, the seal in Bu Xiyun's body had been completely opened. He completely belonged to Bu Wuhui now. "Listen to my call, dance of the puppet," Bu Wuhui shouted. At the same time, she changed the seal in her hand again. Whoosh! Bu Xiyun's body suddenly emitted an extremely strange and powerful power. Level 3 Rebirth Realm. However, under the control of Bu Wuhui's technique, his realm seemed to have instantly increased to Level 5 Rebirth Realm. That was the power that had been sealed in Bu Xiyun's body. Bu Xiyun's blue robe fluttered in the wind, and his body was full of battle intent. However, he had already lost himself and only had the instinct to fight. Sizzle. His eyes were empty, but he raised his hands. Blue electric arcs appeared on the tip of each of his fingers. Each electric arc was the power of Rebirth Realm. Sumo was also stunned. Bu Xiyun was also a puppet? This was something that Sumo had never thought about. His eyes glanced at the 3-inch puppet in between Bu Wuhui's eyebrows, and his heart sank, because he had seen a puppet like that before. Sizzle. Whoosh! At this moment, Bu Xiyun's body suddenly rushed forward. He was no longer afraid of death. His task was to stop Sumo. Because he was a puppet, Bu Xiyun waved one hand. 5 green electric arcs shot out from his hands. Whoosh! Crack! 5 blue electric arcs, each a few hundred meters long. It was like a 5-clawed dragon in the sky, splitting the void. 5 blue rays of light went straight for Sumo. At the same time, Bu Xiyun's other hand patted the storage bag on his body. Boom! A magic treasure flew out. It was a black bag. However, the bag was not thrown at Sumo, but at the endless black wind. The hidden cloud bag. Bu Wuhui couldn't help but sneer at this scene. Second senior brother indeed had a treasure. At this moment, if he wasn't in the state of a puppet under his control, he would absolutely not take out this treasure. Whoosh! Whoosh! As soon as the hidden cloud bag appeared, the weather changed. Another world suddenly appeared between the black and white world and the violet world. That black bag was like the gaping maw of a heaven-devouring behemoth. The endless suction began to swallow Sumo's black wind. Boom! The demon boat under Sumo's feet shook. Sumo frowned. She waved one hand, and the broken bamboo pole appeared in her hand. However, the broken bamboo pole was no longer what it used to be. The power of the 5 rebirth realms poured in. The broken bamboo pole flashed with blue light, and it had turned into a dark green lotus vine. Sumo's hand turned slightly. Whoosh! The broken bamboo pole spun vertically like a windmill. Boom! Crack! Boom! The wind will collided with the power of the 5 rebirth realms. The world shook, and the power filled the sky. The entire Pure Land was on the verge of collapsing. At that moment, if someone stood from the perspective of the entire Dongi Star region, they would see that the pure Earth star had been pushed out of its original orbit. The bitter Samsara sea surged outward. It was the torrent of the apocalypse. The chasm of the Pure Land world was instantly filled. Countless evil beasts were turned to ashes. The chaotic God continent and the ancient Shu continent shattered, and countless cultivators perished. No matter the result of this battle, the Pure Land would be changed beyond recognition. In the Dongi Star region, a gray-clothed figure watched everything inside. Chapter 624. Boom! An earth-shattering sound reverberated through the entire world. Sumo and Bu Xiyun both backed away and unleashed defensive spell techniques at the same time. The demonic ship was pushed back for dozens of miles. Bu Xiyun had to rely on the purple-blue formation to stop herself from being pushed back. However, there was blood at the corner of Bu Xiyun's mouth. One had to know that he had already been injured once before. Even though Bu Wuhui had broken his seal and reached the 5th level of the Rebirth Realm, his power was still not as pure and powerful as Sumo's. Everyone on the demonic boat had to protect themselves. Miaolong had already stopped the northern Chill City in the sky above Jiuyu Nether City. Once the city couldn't hold on or the situation changed, they could enter the city and escape. Bu Xiyun's hidden cloud pouch had collected the endless black wind. High up in the sky, a large black bag appeared. Bu Wuhui's mouth curved. As long as Bu Siyun could block Sumo for a while, they would arrive at the Purple Demon Palace. Once they arrived, she would have victory in her hands. Whoosh! Everything happened in an instant. At this moment, Sumo smiled coldly. She waved her hand and took out the universe pouch. Using a Dharma treasure against a Dharma treasure. The moment the cosmos sack appeared, it gave off a faint glow. In terms of aura, it was far inferior to the hidden cloud pouch. However, as soon as the universe pouch appeared, the black hidden cloud pouch started to make strange noises. Then, the hidden cloud pouch started to shrink rapidly. Whoosh! The universe pouch opened, and the hidden cloud pouch was collected. Bu Wuhui raised her eyebrows. She didn't recognize the tattered pouch Sumo took out, but it had to be at least a Lotus Knight level Dharma treasure to be able to collect the hidden cloud pouch. Sumo had Liangua? Bu Wuhui was shocked. At the same time, she shouted at Bu Siyun, "Puppet, attack!" Even though Bu Siyun was injured, he didn't care. He took a deep breath and flew towards Sumo. At that moment, Sumo felt the sorrow of a puppet. Bu Siyun was a rebirth realm cultivator. However, at this moment, he couldn't control his own fate. Bu Siyun's eyes were gray. He probably didn't even know what he was doing. At this moment, he was just a tool to kill. Void formation, limitless life, and death. Bu Siyun shouted and formed a seal. Looking again, there were hundreds of green lights in the sky, and each green light was a Bu Siyun. Hundreds of Bu Siyun started spinning in the air. At that moment, Sumo really couldn't tell which was the real one. However, he had a way to break it. Sumo formed a seal with both hands, and black flames rose from her fingertips. Hellfire! Burn! Whoosh! Sumo flicked her finger lightly. Streams of flames shot out and instantly turned into an endless sea of black flames. That was the netherworld flame. Pung! Pung! Looking again, many of Bu Siyun's green light clones were scattered by the netherworld flame. However, Bu Siyun's real body used this chance to close in on Sumo. Chi! Bu Siyun raised her left hand. At this moment, he was hundreds of feet away from Sumo. This distance was only one step for them. He raised his left hand and pointed at Sumo's forehead with his index finger. This move seemed strange. However, blue sparks curled around his finger. At the center of the sparks was a strange black light. In fact, it was a kind of condensation of Bu Siyun's rebirth power. If Sumo was hit, he would either die or be injured. Oomph! Sumo sneered. He raised his right hand and used the same move as Bu Siyun. However, there was a white light curling around Sumo's finger. Both of them were extremely fast. Chi! Boom! They suddenly stabbed each other's shoulders and then suddenly separated, their backs facing each other. At this moment, Bu Siyun frowned, while a cold smile appeared on Sumo's face. Woo-wah! Bu Siyun spat out another mouthful of blood. Looking at his left arm, it was a bloody mess. At the same time, there was a bloody hole in his chest. A god's puppet. His body was almost the same as a cultivator's. However, Bu Siyun gritted her teeth and suddenly turned around. He raised his right arm, and it suddenly broke off. Like a flying claw, he grabbed at Sumo. Her left arm had already started to regenerate. A rebirth-level god's puppet would not be damaged so easily. However, the bloody hole in his chest did not heal. Sumo sneered again when she saw Bu Siyun's arm flying toward her, because his Cosmo sack was still in the void. Return! Sumo shouted. When he looked again, the Cosmos sack suddenly opened. Whoosh! Bu Siyun's broken arm was directly taken by the universe bag. Bu Siyun, I almost forgot that you were also a puppet. Sumo looked at Bu Siyun and smiled. Return! Since it was a puppet, the universe bag could take it. Whoosh! Bu Siyun suddenly took a step back. However, the universe bag's power was definitely not something he could control. Just as he was about to retreat, he was already frozen in the air by the universe bag. Her green robe fluttered. Although Bu Siyun's eyes were gray, Sumo could still see some fear on his face. Chi! 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 Bu Siyun shook her hand, and several Dharma treasures flew out. None of the Dharma treasures were ordinary objects. However, those magic treasures were completely useless in front of the Cosmos sack. They were directly taken by the universe bag. At that moment, Buwuhue's expression also changed. What kind of Dharma treasure was Sumo's broken bag? She changed the hand seal, and the 3-inch puppet between her eyebrows shone brightly. She also wanted to pull Busian back, but she suddenly felt that not only did she not pull Busian back, but she also moved forward dozens of feet. Not good. Buwuhue was shocked. Chapter 6:25. The puppet exploded, and its power swept through everything. Sumo was safe and sound thanks to the Lotus Throne and the demonic boat. However, at this moment, the purplish-blue array formation had completely revealed the appearance of the Purple Demon Hall. In fact, the Purple Demon Palace hadn't really appeared in the Pure Land. It was at least a few worlds away from the Pure Land. However, it was already very close to the Pure Land. Its power could also be transmitted to Buwuhue through the magic formation. In a sense, it was the same as reaching the Purple Demon Palace, because that was the power Buwuhue needed. Whoosh! Buwuhue was backed by the Purple Demon Palace. At this moment, her aura was completely different. Beams of purple light were emitted from the Purple Demon Palace. They swirled around Buwuhue. Buwuhue's body was covered by a layer of purple-blue light. It was like a suit of armor. At that moment, her long hair spread slightly. There seemed to be a heavenly eye in between her eyebrows. A beam of purple light stood in it. Inside the purple light was the image of a purple palace. It was the Purple Demon Palace. Possessed by the Demon Palace? Sumo raised her eyebrows. At that moment, she felt an extremely powerful pressure. That pressure came from the Purple Demon Palace. At the same time, Sumo was very familiar with that pressure. It was a pressure close to the level of a venerable. There was the energy of a venerable in the Purple Demon Palace. At that moment, the demonic boat under Sumo's feet had become 3 feet large. That was the only way it could resist the power of the Purple Demon Palace. At the same time, all the descendants of the 3 realms had entered the northern Chill City. Otherwise, they would be captured by the pressure of the Purple Demon Palace. Boom! Whoosh! The Juyo City on the Bitter Wheel Sea instantly collapsed. It couldn't withstand the pressure of the Purple Demon Palace at all. The collapse of the Nether City triggered the Bitter Wheel Sea tsunami again. Endless seawater almost drowned the entire Pure Land. Many low-level cultivators from the chaotic deity continent and the ancient Shu continent had died. The sad thing was that they didn't even know what had happened. They only saw the movement of the sky sea. Purple light shot into the sky. Doomsday had arrived. On that day, they were ants that couldn't control their own fate. A lowly life would always be like this. Sumo, it's time for you to die. Buwuhue made a hand seal and said coldly. Sumo looked at Buwuhue and sneered. Miss Boo, if I remember correctly, I just died once. Humph. Buwuhue snorted and didn't say anything else. Just now, Sumo's resurrection was definitely not within her expectations, but she did not believe that Sumo could resurrect again. Therefore, Buwuhue hurriedly made hand seals. Following that seal, her cultivation level instantly increased. The 3rd layer of Rebirth Realm. The 5th layer of Rebirth Realm. The 7th layer of Rebirth Realm. The purple-blue light on Buwuhue's body was like a dragon baring its fangs and brandishing its claws. Her long hair instantly grew longer. Her black hair was like a waterfall, almost reaching her ankles. Sumo couldn't help but frown again. He understood that this kind of secret technique that could instantly raise one's cultivation level would definitely cause great harm to the cultivator. Buwuhue had really staked everything on one throw. However, was Buwuhue a cultivator or a puppet? Sumo pondered in her heart, but she didn't dare to make a rash conclusion. Level 7 Rebirth Realm. Buwuhue's cultivation level had already surpassed Sumo's. At this moment, Buwuhue took a step forward. The aura of Level 7 Rebirth Realm suddenly increased the pressure on Sumo. Sizzle, sizzle. Buwuhue's entire body was already flashing with purple-blue lightning. At that moment, Buwuhue really looked like a goddess of war. Boom! Crack! With another step, Buwuhue already appeared in front of Sumo. She raised her hand, and a purple-blue lightning struck towards Sumo, sky-treading cloud steps. That gave her a slight advantage in the battle against Sumo. Sumo didn't expect Buwuhue's body technique to be so fast. She could only move her mind. The demonic boat quickly retreated a few miles. However, Buwuhue followed her like a shadow, not giving way at all. Her purple-blue lightning kept a distance of less than 10 zhong from Sumo. Sumo slightly squinted her eyes and then raised one hand. Sizzle. A crystal rose shot out. Boom. Pa. That rose, of course, couldn't resist the purple-blue lightning and naturally broke into pieces. However, a strange fragrance instantly spread out. Buwuhue was slightly dazed. Immediately, she felt that there were only blood-red roses in front of her. Illusion technique. Buwuhue's reaction was extremely fast. Her body suddenly stopped and then suddenly retreated. At the same time, she waved her long sleeves, creating a hurricane. Whoosh! The fragrance of the flowers filled the air, reaching the 9 heavens. At this moment, Sumo made her move. His cultivation level was already at a disadvantage. Therefore, he had to use a special method. With a thought, the universal magic pouch directly covered Buwuhue. The universal magic pouch could store the universe. Previously, as long as it was a puppet, it could definitely be collected. However, this time, the universal magic pouch hung above Buwuhue's head, but she didn't move at all. She wasn't a puppet. Sumo's heart skipped a beat. However, at the same time, he had other means of attack. The bamboo pole in his hand moved again. To be precise, it should be the lotus vine that moved. Whoosh! The bamboo pole turned into a lotus vine, like a green divine whip. Suddenly, it pulled Buwuhue out. Buwuhue sneered, but she found that the magic treasures on Sumo's body were all very special. Sizzle, sizzle. Looking again, Buwuhue made a shocking move. Facing the flying lotus vine, she didn't dodge, but raised one hand. Her 5 fingers spread out with purple-blue lightning arcs and directly grabbed the lotus vine. Bang! This time, the lotus vine was firmly caught by her. There was smoke rising from her hand, but it was obvious that she had such an ability. Sumo was stunned. Ha! Sumo, give me your treasure. Buwuhue suddenly pulled it into her arms. At the same time, the little purple demon temple in between her eyebrows shone brightly. An overwhelming force came, and Sumo couldn't resist it at all. He could only let go. Okay. Sumo's mouth curved. Puff! The moment Sumo let go, she opened her mouth and directly spat out a green immortal energy. Looking again, although one end of the lotus vine was in Buwuhue's hand, the other end suddenly exploded. Bang! Tens of thousands of vines like green snakes directly entangled Buwuhue from head to toe. Lotus vine technique. Buwuhue was tied up, but her face was still calm. At this time, a black and white immortal sword appeared in Sumo's hand. It was condensed by her reincarnation power. As soon as she moved forward, Sumo directly stabbed Buwuhue. This was an opportunity for Sumo. The sword was like a rainbow, and the Pure Land had another strange phenomenon. Many cultivators who were watching the battle were already shaken. Such a battle had already exceeded their imagination. The black and white light surged like a long river. If Sumo's sword hit Buwuhue, she would definitely die. On the top of the Beihan city, Yi Sanqing's face was tense, and he looked sad. He was trying his best to control himself, because he knew why Buwuhue didn't kill him before. Buwuhue wasn't a god puppet. Boom! Crack! At this moment, the purple light on Buwuhue's body suddenly turned black. Boom! The black light shot into the sky. Chapter 6:26. Instantly, the black light shot up to the sky. The endless airflow seemed to have turned into a sea in the void. Sumo's black and white sword light was like a 2-colored flood dragon plunging into a black sea, annihilated in an instant. At the same time, countless beams of cyan light shot out from the black sea. Those cyan lights were nothing but broken vines. Buwuhue had shattered the lotus vines? Even Sumo didn't expect that Buwuhui's body would burst out such a powerful force. With a thought, Sumo put the broken vines back into his cosmos bag. Then, a slim figure rose up to the sky in the cyan light. It was Buwuhui. At this moment, her body was covered in black light. The purple demon temple between her eyebrows was also surrounded by black smoke. Buwuhui's eyes were pitch black. In her hand, there was an extremely strange lotus-shaped seal. Sumo didn't know what that seal was, because it wasn't a spell of the Three Stars River. Lotus spell. It was a spell of the Izong world. As soon as Buwuhui cast the spell, the purple-blue array behind her turned completely black. The purple demon temple, which was surrounded by purple light, also turned completely black. Demonization? All the cultivators in the northern cold city gasped. None of them, including Miao Long, and Linghu Huan, had ever seen a real lotus spell. It was a spell above the venerable realm. Black clouds rolled under Buwuhui's feet. She looked like a ghost or a demon. Ha 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 ha! Buwuhui's pitch-black eyes emitted an endless dark light. Her laughter was somewhat crazy. Sumo, in the worlds, there are only puppets. Puppets are the real immortals. No one can stop us. Ha ha! Buwuhui looked up to the sky and laughed. At the same time, she slowly raised her hands. That movement seemed to be hugging Haoyu. At that moment, there seemed to be a tall shadow behind her. That shadow seemed to be protecting Buwuhui. God, give me power! Pure land, destroy! As Buwuhui moved, her power seemed to rise again. The Black Sea and the void also raised huge waves tens of thousands of feet high. Every wave and every drop of water contained the power of reincarnation. That kind of power was enough to destroy a small world. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Before the spell was fully unleashed, the magic boat under Sumo's feet began to shake. One must know that the magic boat Sumo was on came from the most ancient three realms. It was something that had never been destroyed in the countless cycles of reincarnation in the three realms. In a sense, the demonic boat was a 9-coffin-grade spirit item. At this moment, it was naturally alarmed. That meant that the situation Sumo was facing was extremely dangerous. Sumo quickly returned to the city. At this moment, Miao Long, expression changed, and the seal on his hand dispersed. A beam of white light shot out from the top of the city. The white light formed a bridge of life for Sumo above the Black Sea and the void. At this moment, as long as Sumo moved, she could step onto the bridge and enter the city. Then, according to Miao Long-er's plan, the northern cold city would be able to jump through time and space in an instant. The Pure Land could no longer be protected, but they could escape to the northern cold city. Buwuhui's lotus spell was meant to destroy everything. There were more than 3,000 small worlds in the Dongyi planet region. Destroying a Pure Land world was nothing at all. At this moment, Buwuhui would rather destroy this small world to kill them. However, Sumo frowned. In fact, he could run away as soon as he turned around. But Sumo didn't have that choice. He didn't want to retreat, and he couldn't. If he retreated today, what would happen in the future? He couldn't lead the descendants of the three realms to wander again. Because he was the Dark Lord, he was the Demon King, he was Sumo. He was born for the three realms, and he would die for the galaxy. He reincarnated in Izong to revive the world. He couldn't retreat today. Sumo was extremely determined. Whoosh, whoosh. Buwuhui's destructive black light was already surging over. Sumo, Demon King, Dark Lord roar clang clang. Many cultivators in the northern cold city shouted. The dragon elephant soul eater and the black feather god also roared. They all wanted Sumo to go back to the northern cold city. As long as there was life, there would be no fear in the future. They couldn't accept Sumo dying again. If Sumo were to die, then everything would perish, as would his beliefs. But Sumo turned a deaf ear. He stood on the demon boat and didn't move. Whoosh, whoosh, boom. The bridge of life that Miao Long had built for Sumo suddenly collapsed. Because it could only last for a second. The white light was drowned by the Black Sea. Sumo, Miao Long, gritted his teeth and spat out a mouthful of soul blood. She formed a seal again. Whoosh! The first beam of white light shot out from the northern cold city. That was the second bridge. That was the limit of Miao Long, and the northern cold city. It still had to save some energy to jump through space. But this time, the bridge of life didn't even reach Sumo's feet, because the black waves couldn't pass through. At this moment, all the descendants of the three realms turned pale, because they all knew Sumo would be drowned by Bu Wuhui's art. Boom! Crack! The pure earth planet had started to crack. Bu Wuhui's art was a real Dharma spell of the end of the world. Everything could no longer be reversed. Dragon Saliva, Gan Tianqing, and Yu Wuji could only watch as the chaotic deity and the ancient Shu were destroyed. That wasn't what they wanted, but they couldn't stop it. The battle in Tianfu City had already exceeded their imagination. At this moment, Sumo was still standing on the demon boat. In fact, he was the focus of Bu Wuhui's attack. The ultimate power of the lotus art was coming for Sumo. The black energy was gathering towards Sumo. The demon boat had turned into a 3-meter-long canoe. Sumo, dressed in white, stood on the demon boat, but he was as steady as Mount Tai. The small boat drifted with the waves. His white robe fluttered, and his expression was solemn. There was no fear in Sumo's eyes. That was definitely the demeanor of the former king of the three realms. At that moment, time seemed to stop. Actually, that was only a single instant in millions upon millions of years of time. The whole process was an instant, but Sumo's solemn expression seemed to make time stop. That instant seemed to be very, very long. At that moment, even Bu Wuhui understood Sumo's choice. Why didn't he leave? Would he go to his death? What was the point of going to his death? Sumo didn't leave, but he had already formed a seal with his hands. Of course, he wouldn't go to his death. Looking again, his eyes were lowered, as if he had died in peace. His white robe fluttered in the wind. But Sumo's lips moved, and there was a silent sound. In the vast universe, there were thousands of worlds. Above the bones, there was the sacred lotus. Outside the Pure Land, there was the reincarnation of the Milky Way, which had experienced thousands of years of calamities. But this mystique could reach it. It could connect to the natal object and borrow the light of eternal life. Whoosh, Pure Land galaxy art. Under Sumo's feet, a multicolored vortex instantly appeared. He was going to summon his true natal object. Chapter 6:27. The Pure Land galaxy was connected to the world. None of the reincarnators of the three realms had seen Sumo's art before. However, at that moment, they all felt their souls tremble. It was a tremor that was completely out of their control. The vortex beneath Sumo's feet gradually grew larger. The five-colored mystic light was endless and blurry. It was like another five-colored sea had appeared on the Black Sea. The starlight was endless and incomparably brilliant. A fantasy world appeared inside the vortex. Galaxy. Linghui Huan was the first to speak. Galaxy. Gan Tianqing, Yu Wuji, and Yi Kansheng exclaimed at the same time. Mo Wenqing and Bai Wangchun looked at everything in a daze, but they were equally excited. Longley had never seen a galaxy before, but he could feel the aura of the three realms. Three realms galaxy. Miao Long couldn't believe his eyes. Before the galaxy shattered, Han Bingyi had brought her back to the world of the galaxy. Therefore, she was very familiar with both the three realms and the galaxy. What did Sumo's art summon? A world? And it should be a world that had already been destroyed. Bu Wuhui was even more shocked than the cultivators of the three realms. The Black Sea was completely formed by the reincarnation power she emitted. She could feel the strange power in the center of the Black Sea more clearly. Three Stars Galaxy. She felt the same as Miao Long. She didn't dare to believe it, or rather, she didn't want to believe it, because she had followed Bu Miao Hian and witnessed the destruction of the galaxy with her own eyes. Whoosh, whoosh, on the demon continent, Sumo's snow-white robe fluttered in the wind. His technique was still going on. The five-color vortex was still expanding. The aura of the Three Realms galaxy was unstoppable. The vortex was like the mouth of a spring. Endless brilliance gushed out from it. It spread out in an instant and gradually covered Buwuhue's Black Sea. It was a kind of devouring and counter-devouring, covering and counter-covering. The intersection of the five-colored light and the Black Sea stirred up a 10,000-foot water curtain. The water curtain soared into the sky. It was extremely beautiful. The power of reincarnation weakened and the power of reincarnation increased. Buwuhue's countenance gradually changed. The black light in her eyes was still as deep as before. The black shadow behind her and the purple fiend palace continued to release their power. However, all of that paled in comparison to Sumo's spells. The bottom of the demonic arc was filled with colorful lights. The power of the three realms seemed to be awakening and reviving. Sumo's eyes were still closed as she stood on the demonic arc and saw. His calmness made everything even more unpredictable. At this moment, the reincarnators of the three realms on the northern Chill City felt their blood boiling. Thump, thump, thump. A strange sound suddenly appeared in the void. That voice was exactly the same as Sumo's voice when she was reborn. The sound of a heartbeat. However, it was not a human heartbeat. Moreover, the collective heartbeat of the reincarnators of the three realms. It was a supreme resonance. This kind of heartbeat belonged to the cultivators of the three realms galaxy. All the three reincarnators gave off a faint brilliance. Buwuhue frowned as he listened to the heartbeat and watched all of this. She changed the seal in her hand again. Purple Fiend Palace, boundless deity, puppet holy light, illuminate heaven and earth. Suppress, Buwuhue shouted, and at the same time, she shook her hands. Whoosh! Her hands emitted countless rays of purple light. The purple lights fell on the Black Sea and turned into thousands of purple flowers. The purple lights swayed gently and emitted a faint purple light. The purple flowers on the Black Sea looked extremely strange. Then, they grew at a speed visible to the naked eye. In an instant, a 3-inch tall shadow emerged from each purple flower. The shadow was almost the same as the 3-inch puppet Sumo had seen before. Falling sea and blossoming flowers. At that moment, all the cultivators watching the battle were astonished. Was this how the corpseless sect grew the puppet army? Summoning wind and rain, casting beings to turn soldiers. Buwuhue's spells could be said to be extremely strange. Were these the true teachings of the three realms ghost talent? Whoosh, whoosh. The purple light spread and covered the black light. Then, countless shadows rushed towards Sumo's five-colored light. Waves of puppets. That was an extremely special battle. Whoosh, whoosh. Buwuhue's magical arts had reached the peak of perfection, and he had mastered them all. In other words, she had used all the power she could use. However, the purple flowers met the demons of the three realms. At that moment, Sumo, who was standing on the demonic boat, raised her eyebrows. I am the three realms. I am the reincarnation. With my soul, I summon the three realms again, and the Milky Way reunite. Sumo's voice was not loud, and it was even a little low. However, the voice clearly reached the ears of every reincarnator of the three realms. At that moment, their hearts surged again. Their blood boiled again, because it was a kind of faith that they would not regret even if they died 9 times. It was even the whole meaning of their wandering and living in the Yizong world. The light of the three realms was on each of them. Demon flower, appear. At this moment, Suimo shouted. At the same time, she suddenly opened her eyes. Whoosh, whoosh. Within the five-colored light, a red light suddenly appeared. Sumo waved one hand, and countless black roses appeared. However, when the black roses fell into the five-colored light, they were instantly dyed red. The blood-red rose, the flower of the demon. That was its original appearance. The blood-red rose used to be the nightmare of the three realms, but now, the eyes of all the cultivators of the three realms lit up when they saw it. After all, it belonged to the three realms. Whoosh, whoosh. With Sumo's power, the blood-red roses spread outwards with the demonic boat as the center. Layers of red waves surged outwards. It was another duel. However, The blood-red roses had the absolute upper hand. Wuhui's purple flowers were directly swallowed by the blood-red roses. They could not put up any resistance. Wuhui was extremely shocked by that scene. However, she had no other means. She did not expect this to be the result. Sumo's power was far beyond her expectations. At this moment, she wanted to retreat into the spell formation. However, she suddenly realized that she could not move at all. She, who was at the 7th level of the rebirth realm, was actually imprisoned by Sumo. But Wuhui's expression changed again. At this moment, Sumo's lips curled up as she looked at Wuhui. Miss Boo, it's a pity that you're not a true Lotus warrior. Otherwise, this would not have happened. Today, I will make you pay for everything you have done. Whoosh, Sumo's hand moved in the void. Her technique was still wide open. 3 realms galaxy, appear. Sumo roared. Her voice shook the 9 heavens and rumbled like thunder. Boom, crack. When he looked again, the 5-color vortex suddenly exploded. Starlight blurred like a geyser. The 3 realms remnant rushed over. Everything was like the aftermath of the universe's explosion, lasting for thousands of years. Endless power gushed out from Sumo's technique channel. The Pure Land Galaxy was Sumo's life source. The remnant of the galaxy world and the vast universe world was forcibly pulled into the Izong space-time by Sumo. At that moment, the entire Izong space-time felt strange. The power of the 3 realms galaxy was like a warm sun, shining on all living beings in the 3 realms. Although it was only the remnant of the 3 realms, it was enough to benefit the reincarnators endlessly. Linghu He Huan, Yu Wuji, Gan Tianqing, Yi Kansheng, Long Li, Mo, Wenqing, Bai Wangchun, and the others suddenly rose into the sky. They were bathed in the reincarnation light of the galaxy world. Chapter 628. As long as the seed wasn't dead, it would sprout one day, even after thousands of years. In fact, there was such a seed inside every reincarnator of the 3 realms. They reincarnated and did not die. They were the future of the 3 realms galaxy. Sumo's spell had captured the remnants of the entire Star River. It was an unimaginable spell. At that moment, Sumo finally understood that the Pure Land, Milky Way should be a Lotus technique. However, he was very curious as to who had left this technique behind. The Star River had brought light and warmth to the seeds of the 3 realms. The light of the Star River had bathed its people. At that moment, the reincarnators of the 3 realms felt the power in their bodies awakening. Their dances were surging and full of energy. The power of the reincarnation had accelerated their awakening. Vaguely, a kind of power was calling out to him, guiding him. It was like a torch that could light up everything. Immediately, several beams of light shot up from the northern Chill City. All the reincarnators of the 3 realms had starry eyes, because there was light and tears in their eyes. It was an indescribable feeling. It was wonderful. Sumo's spell had given them the power they hadn't felt for a long time. The power was surging in their dances. All the reincarnators of the 3 realms were once eternal state cultivators. At the moment, Sumo was on the demonic boat, floating on the 5-colored sea. Behind him was the northern cold city that was burning. Wuhui was shocked by the scene in front of him. Sumo's spell had caused endless resonance. Besides, Wuhui knew that the reincarnators of the 3 realms in the northern Chill City were starting to awaken to the rebirth state. Even though they hadn't reached the rebirth state yet, it was only a matter of time, because the power they had awakened had been completely ignited. Once any of the reincarnators of the 3 realms regained their former strength, Wuhui wouldn't be able to resist them. Sumo's spell had changed everything. He was in control of everything, just like the Dark Lord. At that moment, if a cultivator looked from the vast void outside the Pure Land, they would see that the entire Pure Land was turning into a nebula. The former Pure Land world was rapidly disappearing, or it could be said that it was evolving. The power of the 3 realm Star River had left its own domain in the Izong world. When the gray-robed figure, who had been floating in space and watching everything, saw this scene, his body involuntarily trembled. He took a step towards the Pure Land. Hu, Hua. The remnants of the three realms had completely covered the Pure Land and were still spreading throughout the starry sky. Bu Wu Hui could never have imagined such a situation. Judging from the current situation, it was very likely that the entire Sector 3 of Eastern E that she controlled would be devoured. Millions of Foundation, all destroyed in an instant. Before them, Su Mo waved his hand. The demon boat under his feet slowly moved forward, heading towards Bu Wu Hui. Bu Wu Hui's black light was completely suppressed in the space of 100 feet in front of the formation. The darkness of the Purple Fiend Palace was fading away bit by bit. Bu Wu Hui no longer had any ability to turn the tables, because all her trump cards had been used up. However, when she saw Sumo's magic boat slowly approaching, there was no fear on her face. Death was never a scary thing for Bu Wu Hui, because in her opinion, she should have died tens of thousands of years ago. Winner takes all. She had no regrets. About 100 feet away, Sumo stopped the magic boat. She and Bu Wu Hui faced each other from distance. In fact, at this moment, as long as Sumo willed it, the power of the three realms could devour Bu Wu Hui, the formation behind her, and the Purple Fiend Palace. "Miss Bu, you lost," Sumo said. "Hee." Bu Wu Hui sneered. "So what? I'm only dead, but God will let me be reborn." "Sumo, even if you have the upper hand for a while, you can't control the whole situation. You can't change anything." "God? Who?" Sumo's lips curled up. "The ghost genius of the three realms, Bu Miaoqian." "Bu Miaoqian? Ha ha ha." Bu Wu Hui couldn't help but sneer. At the same time, a cold light flashed in her eyes. "He doesn't deserve to be God." "Oh." Bu Wu Hui's answer slightly surprised Sumo. Bu Wu Hui's attitude and tone shocked him even more. Bu Wu Hui's feelings for Bu Miaoqian were very confusing. The ghost genius of the three realms didn't deserve to be God. Who was the so-called God? If Bu Miaoqian doesn't deserve to be God, then who is God? Sumo asked again. "One day you will see God." Bu Wu Hui sneered. "Now you can kill me, but God will avenge me." "Is it God's doing to break the Star River?" Sumo's voice sank slightly. In fact, this was what he wanted to know the most, because he wanted to confirm something. However, Bu Wu Hui looked at Sumo, sneered, and shook her head. She didn't say anything, but her eyes said everything. She wouldn't tell Sumo anything. Hee hee. Sumo looked at Bu Wu Hui for a while, and his eyes gradually became cold. He understood that Bu Wu Hui really wouldn't say anything. So, there was no point in wasting time. "If that's the case, I will send you on your way." A murderous aura appeared on Sumo's body, and the demonic boat under her feet suddenly shook. Whoosh, whoosh, the five-color divine light rose from the bow of the demonic boat. Thousands of five-colored waves of air rushed towards Bu Wu Hui. At this moment, Bu Wu Hui no longer had any strength to resist. She was completely confined in the void by the power of the three realms, and she couldn't move at all. The huge black shadow behind her had long since dissipated. The gate of the array was also being devoured. Boom! Whoosh buzzed the purple demon palace behind Bu Wu Hui, kept shaking. In front of the power of the Star River, it was completely useless. Demon King. At the top of the Beihan city, Yi Kanxing suddenly shouted. At this moment, he really wanted Sumo to show mercy. But he couldn't say it out loud. After all, if it weren't for Sumo's last spell, they would have been the ones to die. Bu Wu Hui was going to kill all of them. Whoosh, whoosh, Sumo heard Yi Sanqing shout, but she didn't intend to show mercy. Bu Wu Hui deserved to die. Boom! Bang! The array behind Bu Wu Hui had already started to collapse. The spirit light in the sky was all devoured by the Star River. The Purple Demon Palace was just a few worlds away, but its light was extremely dim, because the power of the Star River was going through the array and heading towards the Purple Demon Palace. Bu Wu Hui gently closed her eyes. Her heart was clear and bright. She seemed to have been waiting for this moment for tens of thousands of years. There was no sorrow or pain in her heart, but somehow she wanted to see the Muyun Villa again and listen to the purple wind chimes. Good sister, you have to live for me. Those were the last words in Bu Wu Hui's heart. She had no regrets and no regrets. She hoped that when God let her return to the human world, she would really be a puppet. However, at that moment, a gray figure suddenly appeared in the void. The gray robe was like the wings of an eagle in the sky. Whoosh! He spread his arms, and two rays of gray light directly covered Sumo. The power of the Star River was instantly separated. Boom! The array broke, and the purple demon palace disappeared. The man in gray stood next to Buwuhui and took all the power. Wah! The cultivator in gray took 3 steps back and suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. Demon King, have mercy! The man in gray said in a hoarse voice. He had saved Buwuhui. Chapter 629. The power of the galaxy annihilated everything. Sumo wanted to kill Buwuhui. However, the gray-clothed man suddenly appeared and saved Buwuhui. This caused everyone present to be shocked. One had to know that the person who could save Buwuhui at this time must be a peerless expert. Although the gray-clothed man was also injured, it was shocking enough that he could withstand the power of the galaxy. At that moment, Sumo raised her eyebrows. He did not attack again. This was because he had a familiar aura on the gray-clothed man. Demon King. Moreover, the gray-clothed man called Sumo the Demon King, so he should be from the Three Realms galaxy. However, the gray-clothed cultivator's face was covered by a hood and could not be seen at all. Senior brother. At this moment, Buwuhui opened his eyes and looked at the gray-clothed man in disbelief. The gray-clothed man was Bushinkong. He was a true rebirth realm cultivator. If he took another step forward, he would be at the peak of the rebirth realm, close to the venerable realm. But even so, he was able to withstand Sumo's power. Now, Sumo's battle power could be said to be invincible under the venerable realm. Bushinkong. Sumo frowned. The other 3 realms reincarnators were also stunned. Of course, it was not the first time they had heard of Bushinkong's name, but it was the first time they saw the legendary first prince of the corpseless sect. Bushinkong, why did you save me? Buwuhui's eyes flashed with surprise, and his voice turned cold. You should know that I don't need anyone to save me. Huh? Bushinkong shook his head and smiled. Junior sister, it's not me who wants to save you. It's the Ancestral Master who wants to save you. I'm just doing it on behalf of the Ancestral Master. Because if he was here, he would not let you die. I'm just the Ancestral Master. Huh? Buwuhui smiled coldly. What does my life and death have to do with him? You're the Ancestral Master? Ridiculous. You've been secretly helping Sumo. Is that also the Ancestral Master's intention? Bushinkong shook his head. He did not continue to argue with Buwuhui, but turned around and bowed deeply towards Sumo. Demon King, please spare her life. Who are you? Asked Sumo, looking at Bushinkong. Corpseless sect, Bushinkong. Bushinkong replied. Hee. Sumo shook her head, then smiled faintly. Bushinkong, you should understand what I mean. I'm asking who are you in the Three Realms galaxy? Demon King, why are you so obsessed with my body of the Three Realms? Bushinkong bowed again. I only ask that you let Buwuhui live. Oh, Sumo looked at Bushinkong. I heard that back in the heavenly lake of the Chu family in the ancient Shu continent, when I was transcending the tribulation, a faceless white-clothed female cultivator tried to sneak up on me and kill me. Then, a gray-robed man suddenly appeared and resolved the crisis. Is that gray-robed man, Your Excellency? That's me, Bushinkong replied. Buwuhui said that you've been secretly helping me? Sumo asked again. I once stopped the puppets of Tianfu City from slaughtering people in Sioux City and protected the peace of chaotic god Sioux City for 1,000 years, Bushinkong answered. Thank you. Sumo nodded, then smiled. So, I owe you a lot of favors? Demon King, you're too kind. Bushinkong said solemnly. Demon King, I once died for the galaxy. What I did was only my duty. How can you say that I owe you favors? Today, I do want to save Buwuhui, but not in exchange for what happened in the past. Sumo nodded again, then looked at the imprisoned Buwuhui, then said to Bushinkong, you should understand that Buwuhui deserves to be killed. She's not a god's puppet. She's a real cultivator of the three realms. Sumo narrowed her eyes, but she destroyed the pure land that we wanted to live in. The destruction of the galaxy is the pain of all the cultivators of the three realms, and the restoration of the galaxy is the responsibility of all the cultivators of the three realms. I wouldn't have forced her to stand aside and watch, but she's blocking everything. She even wants to turn all the cultivators into puppets. So, she deserves to be killed. Sumo's voice deepened as she said the last few words. Demon King is right. Bu Kong sighed, but the pure land is gone. If Demon King can spare Bu Wuhui's life, I'm willing to give you the entire Dongi Galaxy. Dongi Galaxy has 3,000 planets. It's enough to revive the three realms. Dongi Galaxy, 3,000 planets. Bu Kong's offer was not small at all. Many cultivators in northern Chill City were shocked. The Pure Land was only one in 3,000. However, Sumo's expression was calm as he smiled faintly. You're very sincere, Sumo said with certainty, but Bu Xiyun is already dead. As long as I kill Bu Wuhui, 2 of Dongi's galaxy will be in my hands. Only your Galaxy 1 is still under your control. Demon King, Bu Kong sighed again. You're right. But even if you kill Bu Wuhui, it'll take some time to completely conquer Dongi. My Galaxy 1 is impregnable. If I help the Demon King, Dongi will be conquered in one day. Oh, ha! Sumo smiled, but didn't say anything. But Demon King, don't worry. Even if the Demon King insists on killing Bu Wuhui, I'll give you the entire Galaxy 1, Bu Kong said. Why? Sumo was a little surprised when he heard this. For the three realms, for the galaxy. I come from there, that's all. Bu Kong's words were loud. At that moment, the reincarnators of the three realms were moved. Looks like you're completely different from Bu Xiyun and Bu Wuhui. Sumo let out a long sigh, then looked at Bu Wuhui and asked, Why isn't he your puppet? Humph. Bu Wuhui looked at Sumo coldly and ignored her question. I was originally a god's puppet. Bu Kong said slowly, but by accident. My reincarnated soul was attached to the god's puppet. So, I'm a reincarnator of the three realms. Otherwise, I'll be like Bu Xiyun. As a god's puppet, you think you're a real cultivator. Demon King, I beg you to let Bu Wuhui go. I promise that she won't interfere with the revival of the three realms. Promise? Ha ha ha. Bu Wuhui sneered. Great senior brother, how can you promise? Are you going to turn me into a puppet? If it's necessary, it's not impossible. Bu Kong's tone was cold. He knew how to deal with this junior sister. Bu Wuhui was speechless, because she couldn't understand this great senior brother. Sumo was still thinking and didn't say anything. At this time, a figure flew down from the northern cold city and knelt in front of Sumo. Demon King, please have mercy. It was Yi Kansheng. If I have to kill Bu Wuhui, I'm willing to die for her. At this time, Yi Kansheng completely understood that Bu Wuhui was the real blood of the Yi family. Seeing Yi Kansheng kneeling in front of Sumo, Bu Wuhui's cold eyes flashed with a trace of warmth. The Three Realms Galaxy and the Yizong world. Apart from Bu Miaoyan, Yi Kansheng was her only real blood relative. That was why Bu Wuhui didn't kill Yi Kansheng. Seeing Yi Kansheng kneeling in front of him, Suemo couldn't help but let out a long sigh. With a wave of his hand, he helped Yi Kansheng up. At this time, he couldn't refuse anymore. Fine, Sumo nodded. Then, Sumo raised one hand, and a white light scattered in the void. The array that had been destroyed by the power of the galaxy was slowly opening. The purple demon palace was in the array. Seal! Sumo shouted. She made a hand seal and clapped in the void. Boom! A powerful force blasted open the door of the purple demon palace. Then, Bu Wuhui's body turned into a ray of light and fell into the palace. You can avoid death, but you can't escape punishment, Sumo said. Bu Kong and Yi Kansheng both heaved a long sigh. Sumo didn't kill Bu Wuhui, but she sealed him in the purple demon palace. Sumo looked at Bu Kong and said slowly, I want Dongi planet region to become a pure land of the galaxy. Bu Kong nodded. Chapter 630. The smoke dissipated and the murderous aura diminished. However, the remnant of the galaxy that Sumo had captured was still spreading. It was actually a kind of assimilation. Originally, there were only remnants of the galaxy, but now, many planets had begun to change. In fact, it was hard to say who had assimilated whom. However, Sumo could control that power. The galaxy power spread across Donny Planet region. Sumo stood on the demonic ship and reached out toward the array that had just appeared. The Purple Demon Palace was originally a few worlds away. However, Sumo had grabbed it and brought it to the edge of the Pure Land. Even Bu Shinkong was shocked by that scene. It should be noted that the Purple Demon Palace was something that Bu Miaoyan had painstakingly built. It wasn't just a palace, but a venerable-level Dharma treasure. The Pure Land of today was no longer what it used to be. Otherwise, the Purple Demon Palace would have definitely shattered the Pure Land. The Purple Demon Palace stopped in the interstellar void. Although the radiance of the Purple Demon Palace was extremely dim, its aura still caused people to feel fear. The pressure it exuded was far greater than that of Northern Chill City. Bu Shinkong, I give this Purple Demon Palace to you. If Bu Miaoyan returns one day, he will definitely be able to break the seal. Sumo then waved her hand. Whoosh! The majestic Purple Demon Palace shrank to the size of a palm and slowly flew toward Bu Shinkong. Thank you, Demon King. Bu Shinkong bowed. Then, he reached out and the Purple Demon Palace landed in his palm. At that moment, Bu Shinkong couldn't help but let out a long sigh. Although Bu Wuhui had been sealed, as long as she wasn't dead, he would be able to answer to Bu Miaoyan. Bu Shinkong, I want Dongy Planet region to become the pure land of the galaxy. Sumo looked at Bu Miaoyan. Demon King, don't worry. I will keep my word. I will immediately notify the many small worlds in Dongy Planet region that the Demon King will be the master of Dongy from today onward. Tomorrow, all the puppet kings in Dongy Planet region will come here to pay their respects to the Demon King. King of Shame, Sumo frowned. Are there no true cultivators in the Easty world? When Bu Shinkong heard Sumo's words, he could not help but shake his head and laugh bitterly. I won't hide it from the Demon King. Most of the so-called cultivators in the entire Dongy galaxy are just puppets, and the pure Earth planet has always been an anomaly. Naturally, there should still be some real cultivators in Purple Fiend Palace. However, all of them have been sealed inside. The true cultivators of Dongy world are almost all concentrated in the Pure Land world. Oh, Sumo couldn't help but frown. Why is it like this? Because the Corpseless faction believes in puppets more. We prefer to use puppets to govern this world. Bu Shinkong laughed self-deprecatingly. What I'm asking is, why is the Pure Land of Pure Land an anomaly? Sumo said, I'm afraid that only the Ancestral Master can answer this question. Bu Wuhui shook his head. Because the Pure Land was left behind by the Ancestral Master. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been named the Pure Land. Strictly speaking, it is directly under the jurisdiction of the Ancestral Master. Tianfu City is also the first palace of the Ancestral Master. However, the Ancestral Master disappeared mysteriously, and we don't know where he went. Everything here is controlled by Junior Marshal's sister. Is there no news of Bu Miaoyan? Yes. Bu Shinkong nodded. There has been no news of the Ancestral Master for tens of thousands of years. We don't know where he went. However, we are sure that he is still alive. Back then, he had always been looking for something that belonged to the three realms. What is it? Sumo asked. I'm not sure. Yes. Sumo nodded with a smile. What Bu Shinkong had said was not too different from what Yi Wuhui had said. Do you know Yi Wuhui? Sumo asked again. Of course. Bu Shinkong let out a long sigh. She is also my Junior Marshal's sister. What is the relationship between her and Bu Wuhui? Sumo asked. Sisters. Bu Shinkong shook its head. Actually, I don't know either. I can only say that I know the most primitive relationship between them. What do you mean? Sumo said. At this moment, Yi Qianxian was also looking forward to Bu Shinkong's answer. He looked at Bu Shinkong in disbelief. Actually, I appeared after them. Although Bu Xian and I are their senior martial brother in name, We are actually puppets created by the ancestral master in the Yizong world. In my transplanted memories, they are both junior martial sisters. Bushinkong paused. When I appeared, they already existed. They are a pair of twin sisters. But Bushinkong hesitated. But what? Yi Kansheng asked first. But Busiyun once told me that Bu Wu Hui is a divine puppet. So, this is a very interesting thing. Busiyun and I are actually different from each other. I didn't understand this until I awakened. Busiyun and I are definitely the divine puppets. And among them, who is the divine puppet has always been a mystery. Bu Shinkong said, the two junior martial sisters are originally the same. Moreover, the divine puppet will be transplanted with the same memories as the original body by the ancestral master. So, besides the ancestral master and the original body, almost no one can really tell them apart. Moreover, the divine puppet doesn't even know that it is a divine puppet. However, as time passed, they changed more and more. This kind of change is not in appearance, nor is it in realm, but in character. Bu Wu Hui is eccentric, paranoid, and arrogant. Yi Wu Hui is gentle, introverted, and quiet. They both admit that they are sisters, but they gradually drifted apart. This situation has become more serious since the ancestral master disappeared. Bu Shinkong sighed. I heard that it was a life and death situation. Actually, Bu Wu Hui has always wanted to kill Yi Wu Hui. Sumo said. Yes. Bu Shinkong nodded. Once, I believed in Bu Siyun's memory and thought that Bu Wu Hui was a divine puppet. Divine puppets killing their masters can be explained. However, I realized that it is not that simple. Especially what happened today, it is even weirder. Then, Bu Shinkong flipped his hand and a 3-inch puppet appeared in his palm. The puppet looked exactly like Bu Shinkong. Divine puppets have their own divine souls. Other than the divine souls, they have something more important, which is the natal puppet. Bu Shinkong held the 3-inch puppet in his hand. This is my natal puppet, but because I'm a reincarnator of the 3 realms, I can't control it. However, because I am a reincarnator of the 3 realms, it is useless to me. However, once the natal puppet of other divine puppets is controlled by someone else, everything about the divine puppet will be controlled by that person. However, there is one thing. God puppets cannot control other God puppets. Mo said with a smile. That's right. Bu Shinkong said. Once a divine puppet obtains its natal puppet, it can become a real person. I understand. Sumo nodded. Brother Yi, clean up the mess in Pure Land with the others. I will go somewhere first. I will be back in a few days. Sumo did not wait for Yi Sanqing's reply and took a step forward. Instantly, Sumo and the demonic boat disappeared from Pure Land. Chapter 631. Boundless and Limitless. In the entire Yizong major world, Dongyi Stellar region was just a small corner. However, a butterfly flapping its wings could affect the entire world, let alone a war in the Pure Land. The Star River's remnant had assimilated the entire Dongyi Star region. This naturally attracted the attention of many major powers of the Yizong world. Ancient Lotus Star Zone. The ancient Lotus Galaxy and Dongyi Galaxy were neighbors. They both belonged to the dust realm. The former was in the south, while the latter was in the east. At this time, there were tens of thousands of soldiers stationed at the border of Gulian. Banners fluttered in the wind, and countless warships could be seen. The army of cultivators stretched on endlessly. From afar, it looked like a special nebula. In the center of the ancient Lotus army, a flagship hovered in the void. It was 8,000 feet long and 1,000 feet wide. The immortal flag covered the sky, its aura majestic, as if it was a floating continent. Many cultivators stood at the bow of the flagship. The person in the lead was dressed in white and had a handsome face. He wore soft armor on the inside and a large cloak on the outside, giving off an extraordinary aura. It was none other than Li Beihan, the crown prince of the Li dynasty. The entire army of cultivators of the Li dynasty was under his command. The ancient Lotus Star region had been paying attention to the battle at the Dongyi Pure Land. At the same time, thousands of miles away, Dongyi Star region was also filled with battleships and countless banners, ready for battle. The absolute power of the corpseless sect in the third star zone of Eastern E was gathered here. Bu Xiyin had already prepared everything. He was summoned by Bu Wuhui. However, the third starfield of Dongyi was still impregnable to outsiders. Dongyi third star region had 1,000 small worlds and a total of 100 puppet kings. At this time, close to a third of the people had gathered at the border of Dongyi and Gulian. Even the weakest of them was at the sea annihilation level. The army of cultivators and the army of puppets faced each other from afar, but they did not clash. The purple-clothed army was Bu Xiyun's personal army. Apart from Bu Xiyun, the absolute power of the corpseless sect in the third star area of Dongyi was restrained here. This was what Li Beihan could do for Sumo and the others. On Gulian's side, Li Beihan was calm and unruffled, because if Bu Xiyun dared to use the power of this place, then it would be impossible. Then, Li Beihan would charge in brandishing his spear. The third sector of Dongyi would definitely be annexed by the Li dynasty. The corpseless sect would never pay such a price. After all, it was just a pure land world. It was not worth mobilizing so many people. At the border of the two regions, swords were drawn, but no one dared to act rashly. They maintained a kind of balance very tacitly. However, the Battle of the Pure Land should have started to affect this place. There was a water mirror in front of Li Beihan. Everything that happened in the Battle of the Pure Land was still vivid in his mind. Sumo was reborn and summoned a remnant of the Star River. Li Beihan hadn't expected that. Li Beihan, Sumo could probably overthrow Tianfu City. However, he didn't expect the war to develop to such an extent. In the end, Bu Wuhui was sealed. Bu Xiyun was a divine puppet. That made Li Bei feel even colder. However, that also made everything simpler. The power of the galaxy was still spreading, but it hadn't reached them yet. After all, it wasn't something that could be accomplished in a day or night. The corners of Li Beihan's mouth curled up, because Sumo had already taken control of the situation. Moreover, it wasn't just the pure land world that she had taken control of. Perhaps it was the entire East E-Star area. At this moment, the corpseless sect had some strange actions. On the flagship, an old man in black furrowed his brows. He was the first puppet king under Bu Xiyun's command. He was a 7th-level immortal realm puppet. At this moment, he couldn't sense Bu Xiyun's existence anymore. It had never happened in tens of thousands of years since he had started cultivating. Theoretically, there was only one possibility. Bu Xiyun had fallen. However, the puppet king didn't believe that it would happen. In his mind, Bu Xiyun was like a god. How could she fall? At the same time, the other puppet kings looked at him, because they couldn't sense Bu Xiyun's existence anymore. The puppet king's face was dark like water. Then, he shouted coldly, "Wait for my order. Don't let Gulian enter our world. Anyone who dares to move, kill. Anyone who dares to talk nonsense, kill." His voice reverberated through the entire army. Instantly, the great army of the corpseless sect quieted down. On the other side, Gulian's flagship, Li Beihan looked at the great army of the corpseless sect and nodded slightly. No matter what, this army of puppets was well-trained. They weren't just a motley crew. Unfortunately, Bu Xiyun would never come back. "Prince, it's our good chance now. This subordinate asks for your order to wipe out Dongyi for you." At this moment, a tall and muscular cultivator next to Li Beihan said, "Oh." When Li Beihan heard this, he couldn't help but smile playfully. "General Xiao, did I say that I would sweep through Dongyi?" "Eh." General Xiao was a little surprised. Then he said, "We have 300,000 soldiers and several thousand battleships. Are we just bluffing? Are we not going to wipe out Dongyi?" "Bluffing? Ha!" Li Beihan sneered. "General Xiao, what do you mean? This subordinate thinks that since the army of the dynasty has gathered here and we have a chance, we should seize the opportunity to advance and expand our territory to raise our country's prestige." General Xiao lowered his head, but his tone was unyielding. "Huh, expand our territory to raise our country's prestige." Li Beihan looked at General Xiao coldly. Prince Yu told you to say that, right? Then why isn't Prince Yu's army here? This subordinate doesn't understand, Prince. General Xiao said. I don't dare to be selfish on behalf of the Li dynasty. Don't dare to be selfish. Li Beihan's lips curled. He suddenly shouted coldly. You're a direct descendant of Prince Yu. Do you think I don't know that? Take him down. Prince. General Xiao's expression changed. He moved and retreated dozens of feet. However, no matter how fast he wasn't as fast as the two attendants behind Li Shui. Whoosh, because they were two young winged clan members. With a flap of their wings, they arrived next to General Xiao. In an instant, General Xiao's eyes turned cold. He was the Li dynasty's general and had made great contributions in expanding their territory. There was nothing wrong with what he said just now. However, Li Beihan had ordered him to be captured. Could it be that he already knew everything? Boom! Bang! How could he give up without a fight? He spread his arms and shot out two streams of air. As for the winged clan attendants, they each left an afterimage. Bang! Bang! The two attendants' arms were already on General Xiao's shoulders. General Xiao was a lifetime level 7 immortal realm expert. In the entire Li army, he was a first-class expert. However, he didn't expect that the two little guards who had been silently following behind Li Beihan were actually so powerful. A lifetime peak immortal realm expert. Fight! When General Xiao's arms were grabbed, he instantly felt two streams of air locking his Dan Si. However, at the last moment, he shouted and spat out a beam of immortal light. Boom! Crack! That beam of immortal light was as fast as lightning. It shot up to the sky and then exploded. The seven-colored light was like rain. Li Beihan's expression changed slightly. He raised his eyebrows, because that was the signal cannon of General Xiao's army. When he looked again, he saw hundreds of battleships moving toward Dongyi Star region. At this time, General Xiao's guards on the flagship suddenly attacked. Traitors! Kill without mercy! Li Beihan's face tightened, his murderous aura filling the air. At the same time, he looked at the hundreds of battleships charging toward Dongyi and sneered. Chapter 632. 100 warships charged straight for Dongyi. The Li dynasty's flagship was covered in a bloody mist. General Xiao's bodyguards were killed by Li Beihan's other generals as soon as they made a move. General Xiao was imprisoned on the flagship by two winged clan guards. What crime have I committed, Crown Prince? General Xiao asked Li Beihan in a low voice. What crime have you committed? Don't you know? Li Beihan sneered, then pointed at the 100 warships that were already charging toward Dongyi. Who gave you the order to attack Dongyi? I was eager to make a contribution. Please forgive me, Crown Prince. General Xiao was still defending himself. Crown Prince, as long as we send troops now, we'll definitely pacify Dongyi. My troops have already charged in. Please send reinforcements as soon as possible, Crown Prince. Ha ha! Li Beihan couldn't help but laugh. General Xiao, you're a famous general of the Li dynasty. You can be said to have made a great contribution. But why are you acting so despicably today? Li Beihan's expression turned cold. General Xiao, the warships you're leading this time are all Li cultivators who have gone through thick and thin with you. But I won't be saving them today. General Xiao was stunned. Because you're all Prince Yu's best friends. You're betting with their lives that I'll attack Dongyi. Li Beihan narrowed his eyes. Actually, Gulian and Dongyi are the best choices. I'm only deploying troops here as a form of deterrence. I've never really thought of starting a war. But I'm afraid Prince Yu doesn't think so. It's because he wants to use the Dongyi corpseless sect to exhaust my royal father's forces, right? Li Beihan looked coldly at General Xiao. If I really attack Dongyi today, the corpseless sect will fight to the death. Even if the Li dynasty wins, they'll suffer heavy losses. But then, Prince Yu's forces will be able to suppress my father, right? General Xiao was silent. What a good plan. But has Prince Yu thought about it? Once the Li dynasty starts a war with the corpseless sect, will White River just sit back and watch? Once the balance of power in Duluo Astral is broken, the consequences will be unimaginable. Perhaps the entire Li dynasty will be plagued by internal and external troubles and fall apart. What is the throne of the Dali dynasty? General Shao, the thoughts in your hearts are worthless in the eyes of us father and son. We only wish for the Dali kingdom to be safe and sound, without any worries or troubles. Who is the king? So what? However, we must kill anyone who dares to harm Dali. Like you. As he spoke, Li Beihan raised his hand and a beam of white light appeared. The white light was like a knife, flashing several feet. Puff! Li Beihan gave a cold shout. The blade in his hand descended, directly splitting General Shao's physical body into two, but did not sever his divine soul. Li Beihan, Prince, you won't let you go. General Shao gritted his teeth. I'm a general of the great Li dynasty. The monarch won't let you off easily either. When a general is outside, he doesn't obey military orders. Furthermore, you have committed treason, so naturally, you should be killed. General Shao, I want you to witness the destruction of your direct line of descent. I won't save them. Those warships will be my congratulatory gift to Sumo. Li Beihan's white cloak fluttered in the wind. All of this was within his calculations. At this time, the 100 warships that had rushed into Dongyi had already been surrounded by the warships of the corpseless sect. The disparity in combat strength was too great, and they were basically sending themselves to death. In fact, it had to be said that the celestial army under General Shao's command was extremely powerful. However, it was still inferior to a tiger in a pack of wolves. On the flagship of the corpseless sect, the black-clothed puppet king narrowed his eyes. He really did not understand what the Great Li dynasty was doing. Did these 100 or so warships come to die? Li Beihan had always kept few soldiers. At this time, there was no longer a General Shao in his army. Crown Prince, General Shao's divine soul shouted. Even if I am guilty, the soldiers of the dynasty are not. Are you going to watch them be killed without doing anything? It's you who sent them to their deaths. Li Beihan said. You? General Shao did not expect Li Beihan to be so calm. At this time, many generals on the flagship were slightly moved. No matter what, those who died were comrades of the Great Li dynasty. Crown Prince. At this time, a white-haired old general on Li Beihan's left hesitated, but still called out in a low voice. Li Beihan knew very well what he wanted to say. Old General Bai, there is no need to say more. Li Beihan directly interrupted him. A general's success is built on the bones of thousands. We have to plan for the future of the dynasty, and we cannot lose the bigger picture because of the small things. Yes. The white-haired general sighed and said no more. Boom, crack, boom. Between the stars, smoke filled the air, and battle intent soared to the sky. However, it was still a battle that could not be compared. The sky was full of blood mist that could not be dispersed. In less than 2 hours, the Great Li cultivators on the 100 or so Great Li dynasty warships were all slaughtered, and more than a dozen warships even directly exploded. Although the corpseless sect also had warships destroyed and puppets killed. For them, it was a complete victory. However, there was not a trace of a smile on the face of the black-clothed puppet king, because he had an extremely ominous premonition in his heart. Puppet King, do you want to take advantage of this victory and directly devour the ancient lotus? A puppet general under the black-clothed puppet king asked. Don't be impatient. The black-clothed puppet king shook his head. The current situation was very strange. The army of the Great Li dynasty was extremely powerful. The destruction of those warships earlier did not affect them at all. Now, a careless decision could cause the hundreds of thousands of soldiers of the corpseless sect to die without a burial ground. At this moment, a small formation suddenly appeared in front of the black-clothed puppet king. A green bird flew out of the formation. Of course, it was not a real green bird, but a puppet bird. As soon as the green bird appeared, the black-clothed puppet king's expression suddenly changed. This was because the green bird was the highest-level communication tool in the corpseless sect. The green bird was above the purple wood kite. In the entire Dongyi galaxy, There was only one person who was qualified to use the green bird to send messages. That was the eldest prince, Bushinkong. He was the #1 person of the corpseless sect in Dongi Galaxy. He could not catch the aura of the second prince, Busiyun, but the eldest prince, Bushinkong's green bird, had arrived. The black-clothed puppet king already knew the result in his heart. The black-clothed puppet king reached out with one hand, and the green bird directly landed on his arm. Bushinkong's divine will directly poured into the black-clothed puppet king's sea of consciousness. The second prince has fallen. Puppet king, return quickly. The green bird only transmitted one sentence from Bushinkong. However, this sentence was enough. This was because all the puppets of the corpseless sect would follow one principle. If their master was alive, then their master's orders would always come first. However, once their master had fallen, they would obey the highest commander of the corpseless sect in the galaxy they were in. Bushinkong's order was now a divine decree. Yes, the black-clothed puppet king did not hesitate at all. His setting made him completely obedient to everything. At the same time, he had already transmitted this order to all the puppet kings. Whoosh, whoosh. In an instant, all the puppet kings gathered on the flagship. Then, the formation on the flagship opened, and they all disappeared together. There was not the slightest delay. However, the warships of the corpseless sect were still guarding the border, like flood dragons. Their formation was not messed up at all. Li Beihan looked at this from afar and could not help but sigh. The execution of puppets was sometimes far better than that of humans. The corpseless sect was an extremely terrifying force. If Sumo took control of Dongi, then there would be no more battles at the border. However, Li Beihan would definitely not set out. This was because he would always be stationed here. He could only restrain the great Li dynasty with a large number of troops outside. No one dared to act rashly. Chapter 633. There were also many wandering cultivators in the vast Tibet. It was not that they had nowhere to go, but that they had a destination. They all once belonged to the three realms and the galaxy. The battle in the pure land of Dongi Starfield had naturally attracted their attention. That was because they had sensed an extremely strong aura of the three realms. Cultivators from the 4 major starfields all looked in the direction of Dongi Starfield. That was the strongest fluctuation and summon in the Ezong realm for tens of thousands of years. White River Starfield. A silver-haired man in a white robe suddenly stopped in his tracks. He was walking hurriedly between the starfields. He had been searching for everything in the 3 realms for tens of thousands of years. However, he stopped at that moment. He looked in the direction of Dongi Starfield and frowned slightly. According to his concept of time, he should have just arrived from the Prajnar realm, and it had been less than 1,000 years since he arrived in the Dustnet realm. 1,000 years was like an instant to him. The Prajnar realm was a realm of the same level as the Dustnet realm. Will there really be gains in the Dustnet realm? The silver-haired man in white smiled faintly, then turned around and turned into a ray of white light. The ray of white light headed straight for Dongi Starfield. Dead Soul's Starfield. A girl in red sat cross-legged on a star. The star was extremely desolate and filled with a heavy sense of death. Dead Soul's Starfield. It was obvious from its name that it was the death zone of the Dustnet realm. Dead Soul's Starfield was the largest starfield among the 4 major starfields. It had tens of thousands of small worlds. However, most of those small worlds were already devoid of life. Legend had it that the Dead Soul Starfield had experienced an ancient war. It was a fragment of a great world. Therefore, the Dead Soul Starfield could be said to be the graveyard of the Dustnet realm. The girl in red was extremely beautiful. She was dressed in red, but it seemed to be stained with blood. She exuded an extremely special aura, like a demon but not a demon, like a ghost but not a ghost. She sat cross-legged on a black mountain, surrounded by endless black chi. However, the black chi lingering around her seemed to be nourishing her. The seal the girl in red was using was quite strange, because it was the seal of a dead spirit. Such a seal could definitely exhaust the life force of an entire star. At the same time, She had a pair of extremely strange eyes that were bottomless. An ordinary person would probably be deeply immersed in it with just a glance. At this moment, the red-clothed girl also sensed the aura of East Star region. She looked towards the east, but did not move. That was because she needed to cultivate for a period of time before she could reach the rebirth state. The Dead Soul Star region was the best place for her to cultivate. Here, she could almost have the entire undead world provide her with supplies. Dead souls were exactly what she needed. She did not know exactly what was happening in Dongi Star region, but the aura of the Three Realms galaxy still made her heart tremble slightly. The power of the River of Stars. The red-clothed girl frowned. Who is it? Who actually summoned the power of the Three Realms? Other than my brother, who else has that kind of ability? She had no answer. Then, she slowly closed her eyes and continued to cultivate. Ancient Lotus Star Zone. The southernmost part of the Dongi Pure Land could be said to be across half of the dust world. However, the distance between the star domains was actually very difficult to measure in the ordinary sense. This was because the distance between them was not only in terms of space, but also in terms of time. It was an extremely wonderful feeling. At that moment, a female cultivator in a purple robe was sitting cross-legged on a purple lotus platform. She was moving forward in one small world after another. She had maintained this state for tens of thousands of years, because she had been wandering in Yizong just to find the person she was looking for. Her determination was far greater than that of ordinary cultivators. Because her name was Han Bingi. She was not a reincarnator, but she was one of the first cultivators to enter Yizong. She had created the Northern Chill City, but she had not returned for a long time. She had once traveled between the River of Stars and Yizong until the passage was closed. After the River of Stars shattered, Han Bingi began to wander around. Actually, Han Bingi had been cultivating the Heartless Tao for a long time. But after the River of Stars shattered, she could not remain indifferent. Sometimes she was confused. What was she looking for? The Northern Chill clan? The Sea clan? Or the AMU clan? She could not even tell herself. However, her heart urged her to keep searching. That search seemed to have become her everything. In the ancient Lotus Galaxy, she had already seen the ancient Holy Lotus. Li Shui, the third prince of the Li dynasty in the ancient Lotus Galaxy. Li Shui had already entered the Venerable Realm. But Li Shui did not have reliable information about AMU. He was also looking for him. AMU's life had become a mystery. So, Han Bingi left the Li dynasty. As Han Bingi went further and further away from the Northern Chill City, her connection with the city was almost cut off. So, she could not receive Miao Long's message. AMU was in the Glaze Realm, but she had given Miao Long a jade pendant. Once the jade pendant was crushed, her real body would instantly return. But that would be a huge consumption. She had warned Miao Long not to use it unless it was a critical moment. So, she knew Miao Long would not break it easily. However, on this day, Han Bingi's heart trembled. She was already at the peak of the Rebirth Realm, which was the 9th level of the Eternal Realm. Such a realm was something that Han Bingi could only dream of in the past. Now, she had reached it. However, at this stage, Han Bingi did not feel the slightest bit happy, because the person she had longed for was no longer there. Things are not the same as people, so what is there to be happy about? Han Bingi cultivated the Heartless Tao. Her heart was as cold as ice. All those years ago, when she left the Three Realms, her heart had already been sealed. Her Heartless Tao had been impeccable for tens of thousands of years. In the Northern Chill City, the city lord was known as the Heartless Tao. She did not seem to care about anything except Miao Long. The number of Tibetan cultivators that died under the ice mountain was uncountable. At that moment, Han Bingi was shocked. This was because when Han Bingi looked back at Dong, she felt that something was wrong. In fact, the power of the Star River would not have reached her. That feeling could only be said to be a mysterious feeling for Han Bingi. Han Bingi was worried. Whoosh! So, Han Bingi formed a seal on the lotus platform, and a water mirror appeared. However, there was no specific image on the water mirror. Five-colored light covered the entire mirror. That was the only thing on the mirror. The splendor was like a tide that spread out in all directions. It covered the entire Dong-E galaxy. Han Bingyi raised an eyebrow. That's the Star River tide. Who was it that had such great power, creating another Star River in Yizong? Sumo? Han Bingyi's eyes flashed, but she was not sure. Creating another Star River in Yizong. Not even a venerable could do that. Han Bingyi looked at the stars in the distance. She would be able to search the entire ancient Lotus Galaxy in another 1,000 years. Even though Li Shui had said that AMU would not be in the ancient Lotus Galaxy, Han Bingyi still insisted on searching on her own. She had already searched Dongyi, Gulian, and White River Star regions. She did not find AMU. She did not even see a reincarnator of the three realms that she was familiar with. Maybe she had missed him, but she would keep searching. Han Bingyi put away the mirror and formed a seal. She wanted to communicate with Miao Long, but there was no response. At that moment, Han Bingyi's heart tightened, because she was not sure if the appearance of the Star River was good or bad. She had to go back. AMU. Han Bingyi looked at the endless galaxy, and tears rolled down her eyes. Heartless, even after she had lost her emotions. But AMU was a dream that Han Bingyi could not get rid of. No matter when, no matter where, I will find you. Han Bingyi waved her hand and put away the purple lotus platform. Then a long neigh came from the void. The War Horse King appeared beside her. It raised its front hooves and spread its wings. It could jump through space and time. Han Bingyi jumped on her horse and headed straight for the Dong-E Pure Land. Chapter 634. In an unknown place in the vast universe. Everything that happened in Dong-E Starfield had naturally alarmed those peerless experts. That was because they had been observing many worlds from different space-times. And this unknown place was the place where their divine senses converged. Chunluo Dong-E, there's a small movement. Ha 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 ha. Happy Lady's voice was the first to be heard. The remnant of the Star River has been forcibly dragged to Yizong. The place where it used to be has become a black hole. I'm afraid a black lotus is about to form. The aged voice of Elder Lien followed. Heartless, everything in Yizong doesn't seem to be going smoothly. Elder Lien continued. Your people didn't get rid of that alien in the Star River either. There was silence for a long time. My people missed them. Heartless voice finally responded. That son of the Star River seems to have mastered a kind of lotus technique. He can travel through time. My people didn't catch up with him. Lotus technique? Lotus's voice was a little surprised. That's right. It's said to be a kind of space-time lotus technique. It should be of a very high level. Otherwise, the cultivators I sent wouldn't have returned empty-handed, Heartless said. Ha! Heartless, if you really don't have anyone to use, I can send my people to Yizong to help you, Happy Lady said with a smile. Happy Lady, Yizong is my domain. Heartless' voice was cold and firm. Ha! It's yours now, but if you can't complete the purification, it won't be yours anymore. Happy Lady's tone didn't change, but her charming voice was full of threat. I'll complete the evolution according to the agreement. If I can't complete it, I'll fulfill my promise. But before that, if anyone dares to touch my Yizong world, don't blame me for being heartless. Umitba. Love Monk chanted and then laughed. Heartless, don't be angry. It's best for all four realms to advance together. That's the right way. Unless it's absolutely necessary, we won't devour each other and damage our strength. However, Heartless, don't let a guard down. The little monk is right. Elder Lien sighed. Heartless, don't worry. None of us will cross the line, but you have to take care of everything. We've been planning for millions of years. We can't let it all go to waste. The situation in the Yizong world was indeed rather complicated. We won't interfere, but you have to know what you're doing. Heartless understands. Since there was a pure land within Yizong, then I will turn that pure land into a graveyard for the cultivators of the three realms. I will catch them all in one fell swoop and eliminate any future troubles. My men are chasing after him again. Heartless smiled coldly. No one can overturn the heavens in my heartless hands. He said the last sentence to himself, but also to the other three. The others did not respond. The unknown place returned to peace. Northwest of Dongi Galaxy. A black-robed cultivator wearing a bamboo hat suddenly appeared. He was like a ghostly shadow, constantly leaping in the void. There seemed to be no pattern to the jumps. At the same time, another white-clothed figure was also leaping through space. The white-clothed figure was none other than Sumo. Whoosh! Two figures, one black and one white, leaped through different spaces. They seemed to be very far apart. They were like two parallel lines. No matter how long they stretched, they could not meet. However, just as Sumo took a step, the black-clothed cultivator suddenly appeared in front of him. Wait! The black-clothed cultivator's voice was low and slightly cold. Oh, sorry to keep you waiting. Sumo suddenly stopped, and then he could not help but smile faintly, because he had already sensed that someone was chasing after him. In fact, he already had this premonition when he was in the Pure Land. That was one of the reasons why he left the Pure Land in such a hurry. Even now, Sumo still could not figure out what kind of footwork his 49 steps were. However, as his realm increased, he could already use his footwork relatively freely. He could even combine them at will. Sumo casually took 7 steps in the void. 7 steps meant 7 worlds. Some worlds were extremely desolate, while some worlds were prosperous. However, Sumo did not stop at any of them. After walking, he could not stop, because Sumo had always been waiting for that person to appear. He knew that person would definitely be able to keep up. Whoosh! When Sumo's 8th step landed on a barren star, the black-clothed cultivator finally stood in front of him. Rebirth Realm 5. That black-clothed cultivator's realm was exactly the same as Sumo's. However, his body emitted an extremely strange aura. However, Sumo was not afraid. At this moment, between them was endless yellow sand. This star did not have any life. "Sir, who are you?" Sumo asked with a smile. "Izong's people." The black-clothed cultivator's voice was slightly heavy. "Oh, Izong's people? Hee. A light flashed in Sumo's eyes, because this answer was very interesting. Izong's people implied that there might be people other than Izong. "Why are you blocking my way?" Sumo asked. "I was ordered to kill you." The black-clothed cultivator's answer was very simple. At the same time, his movements were even simpler. In an instant, he turned into a black shadow and went straight for Sumo. Whoosh! Black smoke was left in the entire void. It was Sumo's first time seeing such a movement technique. Even though Sumo was prepared, he was still slightly shocked. However, Sumo's figure also moved. He hurriedly retreated. At the same time, black fog instantly surged under Sumo's feet. That black fog, it was a technique that could attack and defend. Bang! The black-clothed cultivator plunged into the black fog. In theory, he should have fallen into a kind of illusion array. However, the black fog actually only caused him to pause for a moment before he directly passed through it. Sumo's doubt technique did not seem to have much of an effect on it. Sumo's eyebrows twitched. It seemed that this black-clothed cultivator was stronger than he had expected. Although he looked like he was only in the Rebirth Realm 5, his battle power should be far above this realm. Sumo waved one hand. Whoosh! In an instant, the sky was filled with green radiance. It was none other than the immortal vine that Buwuhue had once used the power of the Purple Demon Palace to break. It was also a fragment of the broken bamboo pole. However, although it was broken, it was only a change in form. It could change according to Sumo's thoughts. At this moment, Sumo's thoughts moved. Rays of green radiance instantly condensed. In the void, countless green silks appeared and went straight for the black-clothed cultivator. Each of the green silks contained the power of rebirth. Chi, chi, chi. The sound of air being pierced could be heard as the green radiance filled the sky. At this moment, the yellow sand on this planet had already been brought up by the power of their confrontation. The yellow sand in the sky was like a layer of clouds. Whoosh! The black-clothed cultivator reacted quickly. His hands immediately formed a technique. First hide, Santa Ray. Looking again, the yellow sand that filled the sky was actually being used by him. The yellow sand that originally filled the sky had directly formed a thick sand wall. Although it was called a sand wall, it was actually like a mountain. Chi, chi, boom. Sumo's green silks landed on the sand wall, creating a loud noise, but were instantly annihilated. At that moment, it was like a clay ox entering the sea. However, the corner of Sumo's mouth curled up. Rooting, rising recovery. Whoosh! Suddenly, countless immortal vines broke out from the side of the sand wall and instantly gathered into a dark green vine that went straight for the black-clothed cultivator's neck. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.